SCP-003. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-003 is to be maintained at a constant temperature of no less than 35 degrees Celsius and ideally kept above 100 degrees Celsius. No living multicellular organisms of Category 4 or higher complexity may be allowed to come into contact with SCP-003. In event of total power failure, if SCP-003-1 begins to increase its mass, assigned personnel must engage in skin contact with SCP-003-1. Ideally, personnel may use their body heat to return SCP-003-1 to above the critical temperature. However, skin contact must be maintained even in event of SCP-003 reaching activation temperature, lasting at minimum until SCP-003-1 advances fully to its second growth stage. Personnel who enter SCP-003's containment area must first be examined for body parasites of Category 4 or higher complexity, and sterilized if such organisms are present. All personnel who have come in physical contact with SCP-003-1 are to immediately report for sterilization afterwards. SCP-003-1 must not be removed from SCP-003-2 except in case of emergency procedures detailed above. Any significant change in SCP-003-2's rune activity, including pattern, frequency, or color, should be reported within 3 hours of occurrence. Cessation of rune activity must be reported immediately. SCP-003-2 must be supplied with power via the source-designated generator 003-9 at all times. Description: SCP-003 consists of two related components of separate origin, referred to as SCP-003-1 and SCP-003-2. SCP-003-1 appears to be composed of chitin, hair, and nails of unknown biology, arranged in a configuration similar to that of a computer motherboard. Testing reveals SCP-003-1 to predate earliest known circuit boards by a factor of thousands of years. SCP-003-1 is considered sentient but not actively dangerous except under certain conditions. SCP-003-1 was found on a stone tablet, SCP-003-2, on which it currently resides. The runes on SCP-003-2 are not part of any known language, and emit pale, flickering light patterns. SCP-003-2 is controlled by a non-biological internal computer, the contents of which are mostly inaccessible without risk of damaging SCP-003-2. SCP-003-2 is capable of controlled emissions of radiation, including heat, light, and anomalous radiation types. SCP-003-2 contains an internal power source of an anomalous nature, which appears to have been losing power since several centuries before discovery. It is considered probable that SCP-003-2 was created for the purpose of containing SCP-003-1. Partially interpreted data recovered from SCP-003-2 may refer to past and or potential future LK-class restructuring event caused by SCP-003-1. SCP-003 was located by remote viewing team SRV-04-Beta. It appears possible that SRV-04-Beta was deliberately contacted by SCP-003-2. Other organizations have also been alerted to SCP-003's existence, possibly by similar means. Despite this activity, SCP-003-2 does not appear to be sentient. Based on its lack of reaction to M03 Gloria analysis and procedures, when SCP-003 drops below the temperature of 35 degrees Celsius, both components react. First, SCP-003-1 enters a growth state characterized by an exponential increase in mass. This growth state consists of two stages. In both stages, SCP-003-1 partially fuels its growth by converting matter around it, starting with any surrounding inorganic material, including atmospheric elements, then non-living organic material, including cells of dead skin, hair, chitin, enamel, keratin, and other biological materials. The first stage is always the same. SCP-003-1 will first increase its mass, then take a form similar in shape to an ephemeroid brittle star of 15 meters in diameter, including what appears to be a central processor of 3 meters in diameter. It will form sensory organs that appear to scan its surrounding environment, and will partially convert the area around it to an unidentified anomalous substance. SCP-003-2 seems immune from conversion. The second stage describes a growth alteration which occurs when SCP-003 comes into contact with living organic material. SCP-003 appears to template itself off of the organic material, and will attempt communication with organisms that match its initial template or templates. In its second stage, SCP-003-1 may pause, slow or change its growth, and will also convert inorganic and non-living organic elements into functionally similar structures while anomalously altering their physical makeup. While growth is consistent in the first stage, in the second stage SCP-003-1's growth rate is diminished by 20 to 90% so long as SCP-003-1 remains in contact with living organic material. The percentage is determined by the complexity of the organism in contact with SCP-003-1. SCP-003-1 appears to devote a large amount of processing power to analysis of living organic material. During each of SCP-003-1's growth stages, SCP-003 releases bursts of radiation that temporarily inhibit SCP-003-1's growth, or reverse this growth when the temperature of SCP-003-1 rises above 100 degrees Celsius. Similar radiation emissions have been replicated or recorded via other anomalous means. SCP-003-1's biology has been the subject of extensive study. Significant elements have been identified similar to SCP-1512, and SCP-2756, the latter two of which have no further confirmed connection with SCP-003-1 and no known connection with each other, and none of which are fully understood. Technically, even less understood than SCP-003, thanks to the extensive cross-disciplinary research on the SCP-003 objects. To date, no convincing analysis has been put forward which satisfactorily explains SCP-003-1's connection to these SCP objects or others, nor its connection to modern technology beyond appearance, and potential mimicry via unknown mechanism. Addendum 00301. Acting on information gathered from linguistic analysis of SCP-003-2's runes and comparative data analysis, research team M03 Gloria has managed to establish a link between SCP-003 and data expunged. For analysis of functions, SCP-003-1 must now be considered sentient, and is to be kept a minimum of 1 kilometer from data expunged, and the resulting byproduct at all times. Addendum 00302. SCP-003-2's power loss has been exacerbated by the procedures performed by M03 Gloria. On orders of O5-10, M03 Gloria will continue procedures. Addendum 00303. During M03 Gloria procedures, SCP-003-1 doubled its mass and began rapid structural growth. Temperature was immediately returned to 100 degrees Celsius. Growth and mass increase of SCP-003-1 continued for 9 minutes and 6 seconds, at which time a sustained radiation spike was produced by SCP-003-2. In response, SCP-003-1 returned to its normal state in 3 minutes and 39 seconds. New growth dissolved into a dusty residue which was collected for analysis. Both SCP-003-1 and SCP-003-2 ceased all detectable activity. SCP-003-2 did not resume activity until connected to external power source. SCP-0032's runes glowed uniformly grey and did not resume normal activity for 3 hours. SCP-0032 no longer appears to be able to maintain containment area at a temperature above 35 degrees Celsius without external power supplied by generators 0033-9. Addendum 00304. The procedure detailed in Addendum 00303 was repeated, and SCP-0031 again entered a growth state. After 10 minutes and 13 seconds, SCP-0032 once again produced a sustained radiation spike. SCP-0031's growth stopped for 36 seconds, then resumed at its previous pace. On quadrupling its mass, SCP-0031 formed a coherent outer shell and body. After appearing to scan its environment and partially converting its environment, SCP-0031 then reached containment, entering the observation gallery where 9 members of M03 Gloria were present. On physical contact with team members, SCP-0031 encompassed them in rapidly grown appendages and stopped growth for 15 minutes. SCP-0031 then resumed growth, and rearranged the component parts of the center of its form to the shape of a 3-meter tall female humanoid, with peripheral tentacles shifting to extrude primarily from SCP-0031's newly formed hair and spine. SCP-0031 then produced rudimentary vocalizations in an apparent initial attempt to communicate with researchers. Data expunged. An unknown individual approached the compromised containment area in company of a full squad of agents. The individual claimed to be acting on orders of O5-10 and attempted communication with SCP-0031. Data expunged. Following this incident, Agent Jackson of M03 Gloria successfully restored power to SCP-0032 and activated backup generators to return the temperature to 100 degrees Celsius. SCP-0031 returned to its normal state in 21 minutes and 7 seconds, and was successfully recontained without incident. All 9 members of M03 Gloria affected by SCP-0031 were afterwards found to be physically unharmed, with no residual effects besides psychological trauma. The converted materials of SCP-003's former containment area did not dissolve and are now under analysis. Addendum 00305. In light of the previous incident, O5-10 was removed from the O5 Council by joint decision of O5, and O5. M03 Gloria procedures have been indefinitely suspended.
Want to read in another language? Double check your translation with the Google app. Just tap the camera icon, choose Translate, and follow along with the story. Get real-time translation in over 100 languages. Download the Google app today.
Special Access Program M3 Gloria required. Access granted. Displaying files. Transcript of Incident Report A21B Cycle 8. For dissemination to O5 Command and Staff. Interviewers. And. Present O5-2, O5-5, O5-7, O5-10, and Staff. Interviewed. Dr. Tilda David Moose, M3 Gloria led.
Excerpt 35A. She tried to talk to us. We all heard her voice in our heads, in a sort of half-language we couldn't fully understand. Some of the others passed out immediately. I lasted a little longer, but it wasn't because of mental fortitude. It's just that she was trying to tell us different things. She showed Jones a replay of all the memories of everything Jones ever felt anything about, all over the course of a few minutes. She ripped 3 of the researchers apart and put them back together unharmed. She doesn't understand human emotion, or pain, or very much about how we experience the world. Yes, I would say the containment procedures are necessary. Listen, she wants to remake the world into a paradise. A paradise filtered through her own alien understanding of paradise, but still, a paradise designed for us, for humanity. She would be happy to make a paradise for any sufficiently complex organism she comes across first. Anything with a complex enough mind to accept her. Say, a dog, or a housefly. If she breaches again, we have to be there first. What would it be like? I don't know. She showed us images, not quite images. I can see them in my head, but they're not pictures. The closest thing I can think of is what you see when you close your eyes suddenly and tightly, but brighter and more complex. The images have metallic sounds associated with them, and sensory details that we don't have the words or concepts to describe. The whole effect felt like words of some kind. I believe she wanted to see what we could understand, so she could understand us. She didn't have time to finish analyzing us. I don't know what would have happened if she had.
Hey guys. Daniel is kind of sick right now. So now me and Tom will be covering this SCP. Let's begin. Item number. SCP-018. Object Class. Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-018 is to be contained in its specialty metal restraint inside of a 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter sealed box lined with heavy synthetic padding. The sealed box is then submerged in the center of the 10 meter by 10 meter by 10 meter polyethylene holding tank. If SCP-018 is to break free from the holding box, the polyethylene base 2 will slow down kinetic activity enough for proper retrieval by containment personnel. Personnel entering SCP-018's holding chamber are to wear specialized plating, found inside of SCP-018 observation, and a breathing apparatus before being lowered into the polyethylene tank. If SCP-018 is loose outside of the polyethylene tank, personnel are advised to secure themselves in a separate room and close doorways or hatches to isolate SCP-018 until containment teams arrive.
Description. SCP-018 has the appearance of a Super Bowl made by the Wham-O Company in 1969. It is 6 centimeters in diameter and colored red. Found when the company was hired to clean out a warehouse that had Wham-O merchandise in it, SCP-018 was noted to be able to bounce with extreme height. At first thought to be a pleasant child's toy, SCP-018 was able to bounce with over 200% efficiency, that is, if dropped 1 meter, it would bounce 2, then 4, then 8, then 16. The ball soon became a dangerous projectile, reaching speeds estimated at over 100 kilometers an hour and damaging property and injuring 5 in the city of. It came to a rest after several days in the nearby lake of and was retrieved by SCP personnel. Due to the speed of the object and the total surprise by its victims, no cover-up story was required or initiated.
Document number 018-04. Message to O5.
I hope everything is well. The reason I write to you is because I believe I have found a more effective method for retrieving new or escaped SCP objects. Yes, I realize we haven't had any progress in reverse engineering whatever allows this thing to defy the laws of thermodynamics, but we have come up with a very effective method for integrating one of those new SCP-A5 armor suits with this. Just hear me out. We implant it into the bottom of a boot, rig up a little bit of a mechanical device, and ta-da, the suit is now capable of jumping well over a building.
Also, if the wearer has their foot against something they want dead, well, let's just say it delivers a hell of a kick. All I need is permission to modify one of the pre-existing SCP-A5 suits, and you'll be able to actually capture.
Plus any other escaped SCP objects. Trust me, when have I let you down in the past?
Doctor. Document number 018-06. Letter to Dr.
Upon assignment, Agent was issued your modified SCP-A5 armor in retrieving SCP, and the results are mixed. Agent was able to place the collar onto SCP, chase it through the Amazon, and restrain it by dismemberment. However, due to a malfunction of your little mechanical device, he was launched almost a mile into the air and suffered 2 broken legs, 7 broken ribs, a missing arm, and a skull fracture upon hitting the water of lake. On the way back down, you will fix that before I authorize your armor for common use.
Document number 018-11, message to 05.
Don't worry, it's fixed. But I have some more ideas. If I can be granted the use of some water from SCP-006, SCP, and possibly SCP, I can deliver you a set of SCP-A5 armor and an agent that can capture any, if not all, rogue or unattained SCPs. All I'm waiting on is your approval.
Daniel will be back to cover another SCP.
Item number, SCP-019. Object class, Keter. Special containment procedures. SCP-019 is to be kept on a wide grate in a 3 meter by 3 meter by 4 meter reinforced concrete room, installed with an incinerator. Room is to be kept at 0 degrees Celsius when incinerator is not activated. An observation chamber separated by a plate glass window is to be used for constant observation of SCP-019, and if when specimens of SCP-019-2 are observed, the incinerator is to be activated. In the event of an outbreak of SCP-019-2, ordinary firearms are successful in terminating individual specimens, although in the case of a swarm level outbreak, flamethrowers may be more effective. SCP-019 should be kept in a vertical position at all times. Description. SCP-019 appears to be a very large ceramic vase, 1.8 meters in diameter at the mouth and 2.4 meters high. Style and decoration indicated was created in classical Greece, although conclusive dating is impossible, as the surface is entirely unbreakable by any known means. If a successful method is discovered, SCP-019 is to be destroyed with prejudice. Periodically, entities emerge from SCP-019. Collectively, these are known as SCP-0192. The entities vary in many aspects, but tend to be small, vaguely humanoid though they may have amyloid features, and extremely hostile. They often choose to attack with teeth or claws. Although fairly delicate also, surprisingly, flammable, they are reasonably strong and pose a considerable threat in large numbers. When kept at 0 degrees Celsius and totally at rest, entities will emerge from SCP-019 at a rate of approximately 1 entity per hour. The following traits are known to affect SCP-019-2's manifestation rate. Movement of SCP-019. Threat to SCP-019. Extreme temperature highs and lows. Sudden shift in surrounding environment. Introduction of objects or organisms to the inside of SCP-019 known to cause a flood reaction. Traits that may or may not influence SCP-019-2's manifestation rate. Presence of human life near SCP-019. Current weather patterns. Specific individuals near SCP-019. Some individuals seem to affect SCP-019-2's emergence rate more drastically than others. In addition, tipping or tilting SCP-019 will create a reaction as though it was previously filled with SCP-019-2 specimens, although viewers looking into SCP-019 from above will merely observe a dark hole. Due to the production rates of SCP-019-2 when the object is disturbed, measurement of the internal cavity is difficult, but it is suspected to be inconsistent with outside measurements. Addendum. Document SCP-0192-A. SCP-0192 notes, as maintained by Dr. Light and Dr. Vore. SCP-0192 specimen was removed from containment chamber and kept in reinforced pen, provided with water and live chickens as food. Specimen made quiet, continuous, garbled vocalizations, determined to be phonetically similar to ancient Hellenic languages. Although the reason for this is unknown, specimens are still thought to be no more intelligent than animals. The specimen lived for less than 48 hours, and the dissection revealed anatomy consistent on a cellular level with normal biology, but with an extremely unstable musculoskeletal structure. Other notable anomalies included an unstable respiratory system, nearly non-existent digestive tract, and virtually no other internal organs. All other captured specimens have followed similar patterns of behavior and demise. Note, it appears that SCP-0192 specimens were not intended to live for meaningful amounts of time outside of SCP-019. Dr. Vore. Containment unit was slightly damaged following prolonged exposure to SCP-0192 specimen, missed by the monitoring team because of partial transparency. This has not been noted in SCP-0192 before. Monitoring teams will continue to report further anomalies. Monitoring teams report some specimens of SCP-0192 now appear to be significantly more resistant to incineration than others. It is hypothesized that this is a defense mechanism on the part of SCP-019. Most specimens of SCP-0192 are now all but entirely resistant to the effects of the incinerator. Replacement of incinerator with an acid bath is being considered. Evolution of SCP-019 is being studied, and may be evidence of sentience in SCP-019. Item number, SCP-020. Object class, Keter. Special containment procedures. Samples of SCP-020 are stored in a series of sealed cultivation chambers inside a sealed containment room at Biological Research Area 12, which is accessible only via airlock. Nutrients are administered via automated robotic systems, as the cultivation chamber must remain sealed at all times. Hermetically sealed video surveillance cameras are installed within the containment room, and must be checked daily for integrity. Any personnel entering the containment room must wear biosafety level 5 equipment including rub breathers and undergo full antifungal disinfection upon exiting. Description. SCP-020 is a fast-spreading fungal organism that is capable of affecting the senses and behavior of living creatures, including humans. Samples of SCP-020 exhibit an unknown effect that renders them effectively invisible to direct observation, even when under a microscope. SCP-020 is only visible to humans when viewed through photographic or video surveillance. Once SCP-020 forms a colony, usually within a human residence, it will produce spores that affect the behavior of humans around it. Affected subjects will increase the heat and humidity within their homes to create an environment more suitable to the growth of SCP-020. Affected subjects also become more sociable in many cases, and often invite acquaintances to their homes to further spread the organism. As the spores and mold colonies are invisible to affected subjects, the mold may sometimes grow directly on living subjects. As the spores and colonies within a home approach critical concentration, the health of affected human subjects will rapidly deteriorate, resulting in death. Further spread of the mold may occur as the bodies of any deceased subjects are encountered by emergency responders and healthcare agents, as well as transportation of the bodies to local morgues. SCP-020 was first encountered in Redacted, where an undercover SCP agent noted dramatic personality changes in personnel working at the local hospital. Upon investigation by a containment team, it was discovered that almost civilians had been infected, as well as a majority of the town. the civilian population was terminated, and the town incinerated under cover of a local flash forest fire. To date, over 12 outbreaks of SCP-020 have been reported. Investigations are currently underway to determine the source of these outbreaks and possible preventative measures. Addendum 02001. Excerpts from the audio or video mission recorders of Mobile Task Force C-10. See no evil during the initial containment of SCP-0201. Redacted.
Team 2, moving to the Red House.
Copy. UAV 1 is picking up one heat signature.
Team 2 in place, ready to
Door opening.
At this point, a civilian woman appeared in the doorway, holding a kitchen knife. Video surveillance showed that nearly 2/3 of her face was covered by mold growth.
Well, hello there, gentlemen. Care to take a breather inside?
On the ground. Drop the weapon.
Don't be silly. Come on in and stay a while.
Stop where you are. Drop the weapon.
We just want to have some guests. Please, come in.
Drop the weapon.
It is assumed that at this point, the infected civilian noticed T2-4 carrying a primed incendiary weapon, and lunged forward at the team members with the knife. Data expunged. Open fire. Open fire.
Stinky Winky, Dipsy, and motherfucking Hello, everybody. You know what the date is. Hold on, let me fix something real quick. It's way West again, so yeah. Anyways, this time, this is going to be quite a wild video. Or should I say, quite a long video. Just a quick summer game. I'll be showing you a lot of new Way West stuff, and I'll show you the things you already see. I mean, it's kind of stupid, but whatever. Anyways, skip some of it. I don't want to waste too much time. That's stupid as no. Can't believe they can't use the bushes anymore. Man, I'm gonna keep their asses in Nintendo. They can't treat them like this. Jesus. It's not important. I don't know I have the months, but speaking of the months, I have all videos of those months, even though it's not complete yet, the year 2023. That's so I don't have to. Yeah, this is all videos of January 2023, but it's copyright. Bruh. Can't even mute it. It's only letting me have a dispute. I don't even know how to do that. What the heck does dispute mean anyway? I just put meeting so we don't confuse it with something else. I know how to argue. Alright, let's see. February. AKA Black Heresy Month. Guess Black Lives Matter! I'm tired of that joke. I know this joke or not. March 2023 and all videos of April. Like, do you see that? All videos of March just uploaded on my birthday. I didn't even notice that. Wait, I did kind of know that because I know my birthday is always on April 4th. So happy late birthday to me, I guess. But it doesn't feel the same anymore. Anyways, imagine if someone's birthday was on May 4th. I'll have a bunch of fourths. I might have a twin. I have a twin, whatever. June 6th, May. And it's July 1st. I was trying to get into July 1st, but I don't have enough time. Oh yeah, I also struggled on this a lot because the month June on this year, it was so stressful for me because I have too many videos in June, but I finally completed it. The reason why I didn't do this is because my iPhone was all out of storage. I wish I had a new phone so I could have a lot of storage this time. But finally I completed it, and it doesn't run out of storage, even though it's only like 4 hours. This is January had 6 hours, 5 hours in February, 2 hours in March, 2 hours in April, 4 hours in May, 4 hours in June. Yeah, in July, it's August 1st. July has 1 hour. And finally August, September 1st, 3 hours. It's not important right now. I don't care about Paper Mario Matthew. The reason why Paper Mario now called Mario now, I mean, it kind of makes sense if it was named Mario Jr., but it's kind of stupid, I'm not gonna lie. Even though my name is technically Damien Jr., you know, I have a dad that's also named Damien, so he's Damien Sr., and I'm Damien Jr. I know I'm not supposed to call my parents by their first name, but whatever. I'm getting old as heck, so I have to do it anyway. Yeah. Anyways, we're starting in November. We're simplifying our controls, pre-roll, post-roll, step-ups, and let's go as best practices on my grade. Okay, do that then. It's not November, it's like 2 months ahead. Remember, hopefully they do that. I'm tired of... Wait, it doesn't even matter anyway. Whatever. Anyways, let's get that stuff already. Oh yeah, speaking of that, I also put not SCP. This is SCP. Yes, screw SCP-3000. So stupid. No judge of SCP-3000. Whoever made that. I keep clicking on it, and I need to put this over here so I don't click on it repeatable. Yeah, even though he doesn't have SCP-000, I have SCP-000. Why was 000? Yeah, he's had all of that. 001, 009, 1000. Actually, it's not 1000. It's 100 to 199. Let's go back up. Yeah, 200. 300, yeah, all that. I'm not gonna keep doing that. Anyways, this is it. I don't have one that can kick me there, so that's not like SCP. Man, didn't complete all of those. I have too many. I mean, SCPs have a lot of SCPs too, so I guess it's kind of fair for both of them to have a lot of them. MG, man. EMG. I mean, at least I've completed some of them, but I know I already did this, but I'm gonna go through all of them to see what they're capable of. I'm not gonna read them. I'm just gonna see them. Yes, Euclid, Way West level 2. I mean, you can pause it if you want to. If you want to read this, I'm gonna save you time. Or just pause it, you just pause it right there. Make it closer. Okay, I guess you already read it. Or you just stared at it. Whatever. The boys and girls not completed yet, even though it's showing that thing. I always zoom in so I don't mess up. The reason I do this is because I'm currently on series 22. Oh, speaking of that, it's gonna take. I'm sorry, cussing. I keep doing it anyway. Whatever. That cricket, here's not even nighttime yet. Crickets, you're late. You're so early. I say late. Where is it? No. I made up numbers, not even. That make no sense. I don't even think that's gonna be worth it. This is what I've been planning on. I want to get this plushie so I can make more characters into the SDHS series. So yeah, that's why I'm trying to get. We're waiting until Christmas or something. It's just a hell of a lot of plushies I need to get. Oh my gosh. Also, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Tails is actually a girl. Even though this was supposed to be a shonen, Yodo's theory, it shows that Tails wasn't gay at all to begin with. He's actually a girl the whole time. He must have transformed into a boy so he can get attention. But she changed her gender to female because she proves that there's still some girl characteristics or white girl stereotypes in him. So that's why he's kind of supposed to be a girl this whole time. He wasn't gay to begin with, even though he got to. Again, sorry if I spoiled you guys, but whatever. I mean, if you think it's kind of weird that he'll be a girl in the series, I am so sorry about that. Look at this. That's a lot of series right there. I have 0 to 99, whatever. All those. Look. Sometimes I get confused on Roman numerals. Why do you even need those? They kind of confuse you. Or something. Is this supposed to be 2022? I mean, that's the past year. Now I don't have 2022 series. That's gonna take a fucking long time. I said anyways. Yeah, this is where I stopped at. That Roman numeral. Right, let me see if I can find it. This. Wait, is that the wrong one? Just a second, everyone. Just a second, everyone. Let me see if I messed up or something. Let me see if I messed up. Sometimes I prefer to do this so it can be easier. No, I don't think so. So I think this is it. Even though it says this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, this is number 4, this is number 5, this is number 6, this is number 7, this is number 8, this is number 9, this is number 10, this is number 11, this is number 12, this is number 13, this is number 14, this is number 15, this is number 16, this is number 17, this is number 18, this is number 19, this is number 20, this is number 21, this is number 20. Oh yeah. It's kind of messed up for some reason. Did I mess up or something? It's kind of oh, that's why. I can't believe I messed that shoot up. That's what I'm gonna say anyways. I don't care what anyone says. You want to delete all of that. Well, there's no point in keeping it now, so you know what? I'm gonna keep this. Anyways. There's some slides I'm not necessarily supposed to show you. Look at that. To be honest with you, I kind of like Friday Night Funkin' Even. I said that already, I think. And I've been thinking I would make my own ones one day. But I'm pretty sure you're gonna be an adult to do those kind of things. You have to do everything as an adult. Think it. I'm gonna be an adult already, so I can do it. Oh my gosh. You have FNF versus Tails. 666, kind of 666. You know what I'm talking about again. You know. I can tell you that. Tuesday Sadness is another Suicide Mouse mods. There's a bunch of Suicide Mouse mods. Let me show you. On Funkinpedia Mods Wiki. Let me show you. I'm just gonna pick a random Suicide Mouse video. Like Wednesday's Infidelity. 6 Suicide Mouse. How do you pronounce that? It's DISAMBIGUATION. Let's see a translation. I don't know how to pronounce that. Not Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew anyway. I'm trying to speak Spanish. I'm in 10th grade now and I want to know how to speak Spanish, even though I prefer not to, but I'm doing it anyway. Disambiguation.
Disambiguation.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Disambiguation.
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 Disambiguation. I mean, kind of something weird about that. It's usually still done when I press it 2 times.
Desambiguación.
Like I said, I'm trying to learn how to do Spanish. I want to learn a language someday. Disambiguation. Disambiguation. This is a disambiguation. This is a. Let's look. What are you looking for? Yeah, I know all that stuff. Suicide Mouse.avi is a creepypasta centered around a supposed lost cartoon from the early days of Mickey Mouse. This is lasted for certain popularity. There have been many mods based off of this particular pasta. Well, even though suicide creepypastas are kind of sad, kind of like Suicide Mouse actually. I'm kind of glad they made a mod about that. Yeah, got Cognitive Crisis. Crisis in this injection. Ending pain. Let me see. Ending pain real quick. Yeah, sure. This is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite. I don't know why he's mad for some reason. Why is he mad? Is he losing a rap battle or something? I know. So everybody's mad when you start losing the rap battle. And that's creepy AF. He starts breaking apart into tiny bits due to him being starved. I don't think that's what happens when you starve to death. I think you just make your ribs seen under your skin and making him like a skin skeleton. Man, that is creepy. Man, if you're not used to that kind of stuff, well, don't watch this then if you're afraid of it. Okay. Good. Man, the gifs aren't. I don't know why I was mad for some reason. Yeah, I love Ending Pain. I just went through so much, so it's gonna take me a while to get there. Oops, I accidentally went all the way to Wednesday's Infidelity. It's not Wednesdays anymore. It's not Wednesday, it's Thursday. Wednesday was yesterday. Late Night Melancholy, whatever you said that. A show. Mainly Monday. Monday Night Misery is Sadness Day. Saturday Spirit Night thing. All that. Saturday Night Suicide is my favorite though. Man, boys. So many. fan made. Okay. This is Sunday Night Suicide. Other. Yeah. Waltz. Who had named Mickey Waltz? Seriously, bro. This injection. More. That's the special mouse that makes ending pain. First smells again. Sadness day. Cognito crisis. Funkin' AVI. I don't know if it's a bad word or something. Sometimes Funkin' can sometimes be a bad word. I don't think so. Yeah. Funkin' happy mouse. Why is he happy? He's a little bit sad. I know. Wednesday Delty. Ditto. But back when my was just mod. I'm just slouching right there. The shorts Mickey. Some shorts Mickey. Shorts. Man, I was really busy making that logo. Don't know. No crazy shit. Just him being super sad. He's not being crazy and stuff. Man, I'm an artist, but some of them suck at making Mickey. No offense to the artists out there. Why does Mickey look like that? He looks nothing like that. What the hell? I was hoping they would make this, but now they do. It should be faster because Accidental is my favorite. Also, some of my favorite ones I even like. Magrola Mouse. Hopeless. Mickey has a checker or something. How is that? I don't know. Yeah, it's all that. So the Suicide Mouse. I love Suicide Mouse. I love you guys so much. Low Bits. There's another channel I created, by the way. Subspection. Why was Funkin'? I was wanting to make this, but like I said, yeah, I was hoping I would make this too in this. I was shut up. Okay, let's be serious this time. Let's actually do that right now. Alright, I guess we're done with that for now. I'll close that 402 link. Alright, let's go back to Why Was Pictures. Let me skip the top because it has some weird stuff on there. Yeah, the Bermuda Triangle. My Why Was 206. Yeah. Even though it's a real thing, I don't care. You know, I'd go closer so you can see it. Skin. I spelled it wrong. Skin Damage by Why Was 048. Spoonful of Why Was 503. 411 Chamber. The box that Why Was 397. Because the cursor's in the way. The time that Why Was 372 is currently manifesting. Water polluted by his stinky farts. Stinky ass bastard. Imagine if it was real, I would not get used to his thing. You know, I'm just gonna. Oh, this is 019 and liquefy. They liquefy for some reason. Because of the. Yeah, just farted. Was it you 441? Are you in my house? No, I don't think so. Let me show you the progress I made. Honestly, though, kind of proud of this drawing. It's like 1761 and 5509, or 559. I mean, 761 and 509. 5,509. Keep starting with 1,000. Sorry. Alright, now stop messing around. The reason why he's called. Let me go to season 2 real quick, or series 2. The reason why he's called. Let me zoom in. The reason why he's called the cutest boy. This is 1163 and this is 1163. The reason why he's called the cutest boy is he's so damn cute that nobody will be able to kill him because he's so damn cute. Even 62 can't kill him, even though he's a hatred of all life, he can't resist to kill this cute bastard. Oh my gosh. So cute, I'm gonna pet him like a dog. I'm sure he likes that kind of stuff. But how did he gain his cuteness to begin with? Maybe he was on so ugly that he got plastic surgery to become so damn cute he will pet him like a dog every day. Alright, just got done with the 1400 or 14,000. Yeah, all that. No, we just have to do the 500s. 1500s, I meant. Can you even notice that? Did you notice that this kid just got sucked into 1527? It's kind of suffocating there to death. It's gonna take a long time because you know I make some more. Why was that separate from 15,000? There's a lot. There's a lot of new ones actually. I just made some new ones like yesterday and today. I only made one today, so whatever. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of changes. I made French instead of BK, because it sounds so stupid. It's not even a real country to begin with. Where's the other thing? Don't I delete it or something. Must be a Spanish somewhere. There it is. Spanish instead of BS. Like, boom! Yeah. Alright. You know, I'm gonna get tired of looking for this all day. I gotta do it real quick. Just give me a second, guys. Actually, never mind. I'm gonna do something else. Never mind. Anyways, I'm still working on this. There's a lot of 11,000s to take cover of, so I'm gonna make 21,000s. But I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I still have a couple of videos I want to show you, even though I'll take my school. I don't have enough time left, but whatever. Anyways, see you guys later, I guess. Bye.
Under direct orders of the founder, access is limited to those with overseer clearance. Overseer clearance granted.
Item number, SCP-006. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. Whereas the nature of SCP-006 does not warrant any extensive containment, a certain level of secrecy is necessary regarding the object's existence and properties, for obvious reasons. The following procedures are required not for personnel safety, but to deny or hide knowledge of SCP-006's effects from the personnel who interact with it. 1. All personnel interacting with SCP-006 in any physical way are required to wear modified Class VIBNC suits. Before personnel are allowed to perform procedures, they must be briefed with material SCP-006-B or SCP-006-C. SCP-006-A briefing is the correct one and is restricted to only those with O5 clearance. To ensure personnel are wearing suits properly, they are to be submerged into a pool of water. Any air bubbles spotted signify a leak in the suit too. Procedures with SCP-006 are to be carried out under extreme surveillance. In case of contact with SCP-006, the commander in charge will announce Procedure 006-1112, which the personnel have been briefed to believe to mean high toxicity is present and they must evacuate. 3. Any procedure in which liquid is acquired from SCP-006 must be approved by 305 level personnel. The liquid is to be transferred in a quad sealant container and under armed guard 4. If at any time personnel come into contact with SCP-006 or liquid from SCP-006, they are to be confined and terminated after sufficient studies are done. Due to the nature of SCP-006, the most effective termination method is incineration. For full report, see file SCP-006-05. Description. SCP-006 is a very small spring located 60 kilometers west of Astrakhan. Foundation Command was aware of its existence since the 19th century, but were unable to secure it until 1991 due to political reasons. On the spot of the spring, a chemical factory has been constructed as a disguise, with the majority of laborers under Foundation and or Russian control. The liquid emitted from the spring has been chemically identified as simple mineral water in 1902, but has the unusual property of health. Ingesting the liquid produces the following properties in human beings: the ability to regenerate DNA damaged by sufficient duplication, heightened excitement of cellular duplication, vastly improved abilities in the repair of damaged tissue, and a frightening increase in the effectiveness of the human immune system. Upon testing the liquid on animal subjects, hostile bacteria and viral agents were destroyed immediately. Many reptiles and birds were unaffected, while higher primates experienced the same benefits as humans. Item number, SCP-777. Object Class, Euclid. Special containment procedures. The area known as SCP-777 is to be contained behind 2-meter-tall electrical fencing. Motion-activated turrets are to be placed within the area in order to prevent any instances of SCP-777-1 from escaping the containment area. No liquids are allowed within the area known as SCP-777. Any civilians approaching SCP-777 are to be interrogated and subsequently dosed with Class A amnestics. For the sake of secrecy, SCP-777 is to be represented as a military bombing range on all maps of the area, and any satellite imaging is to be doctored by dedicated staff to represent the area as such. Any personnel entering SCP-777 are to wear sealed ventilated pressure suits to prevent liquid coming into contact with SCP-777. These suits are to be checked 4 ruptures before entering SCP-777. Any instances of SCP-777-1 outside of SCP-777 are to be destroyed at the first possible opportunity. In the event that SCP-777 experiences rainfall, on-site personnel are to authorize a bombing run to neutralize the threat posed. Description. SCP-777 is an area of land spanning 5 square kilometers located in the desert, referred to by locals as the Kingdom of Sand. Unidentified radio interference is present within SCP-777, with the source currently unknown. SCP-777 demonstrates a further anomalous property when sand within the area comes into contact with any type of liquid. The moisturized sand will animate, typically taking the shape of an animal proportionate to the amount of sand moisturized. These entities will hereafter be referred to as SCP-777-1. Instances of SCP-777-1 will behave aggressively to any life forms that enter SCP-777, and will attack on sight. SCP-777-1 will single-mindedly hunt their prey and have on several occasions followed intruders out of SCP-777 into nearby towns. Instances of SCP-777-1 do not appear to attack each other, and instead behave in a hive mind, using flanking maneuvers to distract and kill their victims. SCP-777-1 typically collapse and become inanimate if not provided with further moisture after 24 hours, although this timescale seems to be longer in smaller instances. Sand retrieved from SCP-777 appears to retain its anomalous qualities until it is taken a further 6 kilometers away from SCP-777. Taking advantage of this, a research outpost has been established 2 kilometers away from SCP-777, and research on the anomalous sand is currently being undertaken. Analysis of the radio interference and evidence given in Interview 777-1 indicate that the source of the anomalous events is the center of SCP-777. However, all attempts to reach it have met with failure. History. SCP-777 was discovered by the Foundation during a routine myth verification operation undertaken by Mobile Task Force Zeta-17 Beach Bullies. Contact was lost with Task Force Zeta-17 1 hour after the mission began. Mobile Task Force Phi-22 Well-Wishers then began a rescue operation and managed to retrieve the leader of Mobile Task Force Zeta-17 and only survivor of the incident, on the outskirts of SCP-777, who informed research staff of SCP-777's nature.
SCP-777-1 Testing Log. Test 777-1A. Materials used. 1 grain of sand taken from SCP-777. Result. Drop of water is applied to sand. No visible effect. Test 777-1B. Materials used. Small clump of sand taken from SCP-777. Result. Water is applied to sand. Sand animates into 3 European hornets, which then escape from containment and attack Security Officer. Security Officer is relatively unharmed, as the hornets are unable to properly sting him. SCP-777-1 was then destroyed by a second member of security. Text 777-1C. Materials used. 2 connected small clumps of sand taken from SCP-777. Result. Water is applied to sand. Sand animates into what appears to be a hybrid between a crab and an octopus. SCP-777-1 is immobile and destroyed without incident. Test 777-1D. Materials used. Mixture of regular sand and sand taken from SCP-777. Result. Water is applied to mixture. Sand taken from SCP-777 animates into an African rock python, which burrows out of the sand and is destroyed by security when it attempts to escape containment. Test 777-1E. Materials used. Sand taken from SCP-777 contained in a test tube. Result. Water is applied to sand. Sand animates into an unidentified mass which demonstrates acidic qualities. SCP-777-1 destroyed without incident. Test 777-1F. Materials used. Large mound of sand taken from SCP-777 and a tank filled with water. Result. Sand is inserted into water tank. Sand takes slightly longer to animate into a juvenile great white shark. SCP-777-1 does not suffocate when water is removed from the tank, and is subsequently destroyed by security. Test 777 to 1 grams. Materials used. Sand taken from SCP-777 formed into sculpture of a cat. Result. Water is applied to sand. Sand animates into 3 abnormally large scorpions. SCP-777-1 destroyed by security without incident. Test 777-1 hour. Materials used. Sand taken from SCP-777 placed next to a small plant. Result. Water is applied to sand. Sand animates into an unknown form of plant life, which appears to strangle the plant. SCP-777-1 destroyed by security without incident.
Note, it appears SCP-777-1 manifests itself as whatever is deadliest to the nearest organism.
Doctor. Interview 777-1. Begin log.
Hello, I just need to ask you a few questions about what happened.
Hi, Doc. Fire away, I guess.
When did you discover SCP-777's unique quality?
We'd been in that damn dessert for 15 minutes, and just wiped some sweat off his hand, and he, oh Jesus Christ.
Please continue.
Does not respond. Doctor. Sighs and applies a Class B desensitizer.
This will help. Now, tell me what happened in the desert.
Monotonous. Got swarmed by the ants. They ate him, and then they ate, and then they ate, and then they ate me.
No, they did not eat you. You are sitting here, talking to me.
I am sitting here, talking to you.
Yes, what happened next?
Me and ran away. Was bleeding and he fell over and it made a messed up crab.
I'm sorry?
Looked like a crab gone wrong. Too long and too flat, and I think we're blind.
What happened next?
Does not reply. 10 seconds pass.
Answer the question, please.
I kept on running. Those things were right behind me, and I just kept on running. I think it was rats that got him. I just kept on running.
Did you see anything else when you were in SCP-777?
Sand. It was just sand. Buildings made of sand, oceans made of sand, animals made of sand. They were huge, bigger than the buildings.
This was the center, yes? The center of SCP-777?
No. It was close, though. I carried on running, and I went through there.
Can you tell me what was in the center?
There was nothing. Just more sand.
Collapsed at this point and was removed by medical staff. End log. Closing statement. Was later diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and given temporary leave for stress.
Attention all Class D personnel. Please enter the containment chamber. Please approach SCP-173 for testing. This is your last warning. 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 Subject D-931 into the containment chamber where you will be terminated. This is your last warning. 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 Warning. This is your last warning. Attention all Class D personnel. Please enter the containment chamber. Please approach SCP-173 for testing. This is your last warning. 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 Subject D-931 into the containment chamber where you will be terminated. This is your last warning. 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 Warning. This is your last warning. Attention all Class D personnel. Please enter the containment chamber. Please approach SCP-173 for testing. This is your last warning. 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 Subject D-931 into the containment chamber where you will be terminated.
Item number, SCP-005. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-005 poses no immediate risk in any direct sense. Even so, its unique functions require special measures be taken to restrict access and manipulation of the object. Approval of at least one Level 4 personnel is required for the removal of the object from its containment area. Description. In appearance, SCP-005 resembles an ornate key, displaying the characteristics of a typical mass-produced key used in the 1920s. The key was discovered when a civilian used it to infiltrate a high-security facility. SCP-005 seems to have the unique ability to open any and all forms of lock. See Appendix A, be they mechanical or digital, with relative ease. The origin of this ability has yet to be determined. Additional notes. SCP-005 may be used as a replacement for lost security passes, but only under the supervision of at least one Level 4 personnel. SCP-005 may not be used for vending machine repairs, opening lockers, or for any personnel's spare home key. Removal of the object from the compound will result in immediate termination. Appendix A. While SCP-005 has been shown to be effective in removing almost any form of locking device, further experiments have shown that efforts to disguise the purpose or identity of lock have proven at least somewhat successful in defeating SCP-005's ability. In approximately 50% of cases where a volunteer was not able to identify a locking device as such, SCP-005 was not successful in deactivating the device. Due to these results, SCP-005 has been tentatively classified as sentient and further tests are being run to determine its cognitive abilities. However, there are no results that show any trace that prevent it from being able to identify any particular locking device, only that the aforementioned device has been heavily concealed and disguised. Item number, SCP-150. Object class, Keter. Special containment procedures. SCP-150 patients kept for study should be contained in Level 3 biohazard containment cells, with no more than one instance per cell. Cultures of SCP-150 are contained in vacuum-sealed glass flasks in the Site-42 Infectious Materials Lab. Standard pathogen handling procedures should be followed at all times. Any instances of SCP-150 found outside of containment are to be incinerated. Description. SCP-150 is an obligate parasite that resembles the tongue-eating louse, Simortha oryxigua, but is adapted to form conjunctive symbiotic relationships with humans for a period of its lifespan. Upon contact with a human subject, SCP-150 embeds itself deeply in the flesh of its host. Over the course of approximately 7 days, the parasite will burrow into the host and affect numerous physiological alterations. The most glaring alteration is the gradual conversion of the limb nearest the infection site into a chitinous appendage. As SCP-150 consumes the host's flesh, it excretes tissue that replaces and augments the functionality of the host's limb without causing transplant rejection. It is suspected that SCP-150 is able to secrete anesthetic and immunosuppressant substances to prevent the host's body from responding to the change. Furthermore, the nervous tissue excreted by SCP-150 is able to interface with the host's nervous system. By the time the process is complete, the host will be able to control the affected limb with no loss in mobility and often with improved strength, reflexes, and resilience. For a period of 1 to 2 weeks, SCP-150 will reproduce, feeding on nutrients from and depositing eggs into assimilated blood vessels. The eggs are deposited throughout the human body via the bloodstream while the vast majority of them die off. Enough survive to begin colonizing and altering the rest of the host's body. The subjects report discomfort and occasional loss of motor control during this process. They often will not recognize the cause of said discomfort. It is still unclear why the offspring do not compete with each other for space or resources, nor how the assimilation process leaves the body's cell signaling mechanisms and processes unaffected. SCP-150 reproduces during this assimilation process. As the lungs are assimilated, more eggs are produced and spread by the patient's coughing. Although as many as 10,000 eggs may be produced during this time, it is estimated that only 1% of them find their way into another host, of which 1% survive the host's immune response and implant successfully. Although SCP-150 inevitably results in the assimilation and alteration of the central nervous system, including the spinal cord and brain, the host's consciousness and behavior are seemingly unaffected. Interviews with subjects infected by SCP-150 have yielded little information, as infected subjects unaware of SCP-150 claim to sense no changes or improvement in certain senses and faculties, while subjects aware of the infection are able to pinpoint the source of the change. They exhibit little to no negative feelings and often express positivity towards it. Addendum 150E. Transcript of exploratory leucotomy and nervous tissue transformation experiments. 2D class subjects, D13732 and D016002, were infected with SCP-150 and allowed to progress through all stages of the infection. In order to examine the full effect of the infection, exploratory neurosurgeries were performed on both subjects. D13732 was euthanized. His nervous tissue was found to have been entirely replaced by smaller instances of SCP-150. The instances comprising his brain matter were extracted and stored for experimentation on D016002. The following decompressive craniotomy and leucotomy were performed by Dr. Harlan Sun, Dr. Wendy Robin, and Dr. Alex Harlow on D016002. A full transcript follows.
Begin log. 21 minutes and 43 seconds. D016002 is partially anesthetized and numbered during the initial drilling of the skull. The process is uneventful, though Harlow reports expecting less resistance from the skull while drilling into and cutting the flap from it. Upon removing the flap of bone and exposing the duramater, numerous smaller instances of SCP-150 are observed lying in the cranial cavity where the brain should be. Harlow reports this to Robin, who alerts Sun to begin the interview process while she marks off areas of the D016002's brain on a mapping projection.
What is your name?
Miko.
Redacted.
Name something to sit in.
Chair.
Switch to Sensodyne Sensitivity Gum and Enamel. Its triple action formula relieves sensitivity, helps restore gum health, and rehardens enamel. 3 issues with 1 answer. I recommend Sensodyne Sensitivity Gum and Enamel.
What is the color of grass?
Green.
What is 1 + 1?
D016002 pauses for a moment.
2.
We have marked off the approximate location of the Wernicke's area.
Thank you, Dr. Sun. I will now extract some of the specimens from this area.
Dr. Harlow carefully makes an incision into the duramater and extracts some of the instances from the area using forceps. He places each instance into a glass vial, corks it, and places it on a nearby stand. Each instance appears to stir to life and begin wriggling only upon being removed. This process takes approximately 10 minutes, during which time Sun repeatedly asks D016002 the same questions. Once Harlow has extracted approximately 100 instances, he gestures for Sun to continue.
Name something to sit in.
Seat.
What is the color of grass?
Green.
What is 1 plus 1?
2.
Note for the record that D016002's responses have been slightly slowed. This indicates that the instances within her cranial cavity are indeed acting as neuron analogs, though it is unclear as to how many neurons each instance is equivalent to.
I am placing a sample of neural tissue acquired from D-13,732 into D016002 now. The instances from D-13,732 have been tagged with a radioactive luminescent dye to distinguish them for extraction later.
Name something to sit in.
Couch.
What is the color of grass?
Blue.
What is 1 plus 1?
2.
What is 10 times 11?
111.
D016002's responses have returned to normal speed. This suggests that it is possible for 150 nervous tissue to be swapped freely between host individuals without rejection. We will now begin the final procedure. D016002, you will be given a full general anesthetic.
D016002 is subjected to a general anesthetic, which takes several seconds to begin.
The patient is now under full anesthesia. Dr. Harlow, you may begin the process of tissue extraction. For this final procedure, we will be attempting to completely replace the brain tissue of D016002 with that of D13732. Previously, during the exploration of D13732's cranial cavity, Dr. Harlow and I observed that the instances connecting his brain matter to his spinal matter were not secured in any way, and in fact seems to be switching positions with other instances in the brain. We will be seeing how far this compatibility extends.
There is silence for the next hour as DRS, Harlow, Sun, and Robin remove the top of D016002's skull and begin extracting her brain matter into a large glass container.
Extraction complete. D016002's brain matter has been successfully removed. Dr. Harlow is now placing D13732's brain matter into D016002's exposed cranial cavity.
Silence for several minutes.
Heart rate steady. We have a pulse and breathing. Give it another minute. All right. I'm going to wake her up.
There is a pause as Dr. Robin reduces the anesthesia and D016002 awakens.
What is your name?
Michael.
Redacted.
Jesus.
Name something to sit in.
Beanbags.
What is the color of grass?
Green.
What is 1 plus 1?
Hey, up, son.
2.
Son, look.
D016002's brain is shown to move of its own accord, subtly moving back and forth.
Well, that's new.
Do you feel any pain anywhere in your body?
My chest is kind of heavy. Feels just the same otherwise.
Good to hear. Now, what is?
Hey, I usually feel pretty energetic, even before surgeries, but I'm kind of tired right now. Lately, I've been exercising before I sleep, but since I can hear, is it okay if I can just rest a little bit?
Rest.
Like 3-5 minutes. I can do that here if it's okay.
A small portion of the top of D016002's brain parts before making a gurgling sound. After the portion closes, sections of D016002's brain retracts into itself rapidly. D016002's eyes close.
That doesn't seem good.
Dr. Robin steps away from the operation, making retching sounds as she leaves the room.
D-016. D-13,732. Are you okay? Yeah. I'm fine. Why do you ask?
Here are some footnotes. 1. It is hypothesized that SCP-150 can self-fertilize. 2. The part of the brain that controls speech recognition and use. And 3. D13732's name. Item number, YOS 1509. Object class, Keter. Containment procedures. Due to its nature, YOS 1509 cannot be contained at this time. When the date is the 11th of September, any city should be warned to avoid YOS 1509's attack from damaging the buildings and collapsing buildings. When the date is the 10th of September, personnel must ready themselves to save as much citizens as they can. MTF Guard must bring special gear to try to contain YOS 1509 as soon as possible, or by containing it in its own area with special equipment and materials. If the entity is successful at destroying the entire city, it must be reported to staff immediately. Description. YOS 1509 is believed to be a mysterious unseen entity of unknown origin. It is always dormant for the entire year, except for one of the days. It only activates during the 11th of September and becomes aggressive at populated areas like cities. On the 11th of September, 2001, a city was destroyed by 19 hijackers using machinery to destroy tall buildings. It is currently unknown if this caused YOS 1509 to exist. YOS 1509 is normally unable to be seen due to possibly being invisible to the naked eye, or by faster speeds, and it's impossible to keep track of it if it is active and aggressive. It can only be seen by camera footage or night vision goggles. Researchers believe it reaches speed about 4.5 kilometers per hour, and cannot be paused by any material it encounters with. Addendum 1509-1. The area where YOS 1509 is normally dormant is a cave located at North Carolina. After it destroyed at least 20 buildings, it returns to its cave and go into a hibernation state until next year after the clock reaches 11:59 p.m. It will sit down until reaching 10:59 p.m., and then lay down and close its eyes and its heart goes into rest mode until 11:59 p.m. is reached. It has been known to only activate on the 11th of September every year from 12 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. Addendum 1509-2. Once it's 12 p.m., its heart started pumping and YOS 1509 enters an aggressive state and starts to go wrecking cities it sees. Incident 1509A. The entire cave that YOS 1509 is hibernating is entirely blocked with metallic objects to prevent it from escaping, and by using lifetime cameras in case something goes wrong, and the staff went back to site. After the clock reaches 12 p.m., YOS 1509 activates, and easily broke through the metal, and failed. Approximately 20 cities were destroyed by 2 United States buildings according to Foundation staff.
Elites, now that we've made travel so expensive, we have this hotel to ourselves. How'd you get here?
Kayak. They compared hundreds of travel sites to find a great deal on my flight, car, and hotel.
Kayak. Search one and done.
Item number, SCP-063. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-063 is to be kept at all times within Dr. Personal bathroom, located within the personnel quarters upon Site 19. Object is to be used as designed at least once in a 24-hour period, or the object will begin to emit an unknown specialized radiation that results in objects and material within a 0.6 meter 2 feet radius being slowly warped and eventually disintegrating into a fine dust. Radiation's effect on living test subjects has not been monitored. Description. SCP-063 appears to be an average, pale blue toothbrush. Stenciled along the side of the object are the words, "The world's best toothbrush." Sick. The word toothbrush is spelled incorrectly, though whether this was accidental or a purposeful action by the creators of the object is unknown. SCP-063 displays the ability to effortlessly cleave through any and all dead or inorganic matter, the focal point of this ability being the bristles. However, matter touched by the bristles is not separated, such as by way of a knife, but completely expunged from existence. leaving no trace whatsoever. This mode of operation is reminiscent of SCP-2207, suggesting that two anomalies share a connection or were created by the same entity or entities. Additionally, subjects who have used SCP-063 have claimed that the experience left their teeth feeling remarkably clean. In spite of its extraordinary abilities, lab analysis has discerned that SCP-063 is completely made of common plastic. Addendum. SCP-063 was originally found in St. Petersburg, on the person of or thief working in the area using SCP-063's abilities to crack safes. When questioned about the object, subject professed ignorance, claiming that he simply found the object one day. Questioning of the subject continued until he took his own life. His reason for doing this is, as of yet, unknown. Item number, SCP-021. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-021 is an obligate parasite of the human body. Containment, therefore, is no more difficult than containing an adult human. Most cells will suffice. Item is currently housed in detention cell 217A on subject D-139. Only Class D personnel are eligible for hosting SCP-021. As long as a given subject survives as a host for SCP-021, he is exempt from normal monthly terminations of Class D personnel. Description. SCP-021 takes the form of a large and elaborate tattoo of a serpentine dragon in the Oriental style, covering approximately 0.8 square meters of skin. This tattoo is fully animate within the confines of its host's skin and behaves largely as a normal animal would, albeit in only 2 dimensions. The tattoo's movement causes constant pain to its host, comparable and similar in character to simultaneous tattooing and tattoo removal on a large scale. The organism tends to spend most of its time on or near the torso. SCP-021 displays no intelligence beyond a basic pattern of feeding and locomotion. A dimensional life form has proven impossible thus far. SCP-021 appears to feed exclusively on pigments in the host's skin. This can include melanin, in which case the subject appears to be suffering from vitiligo. However, the organism shows a marked preference for other tattoos and will seek out and devour these before resorting to natural pigments. It should be noted that the feeding process itself, beyond the sensation of movement, is painless. Normal tattooing simply vanishes as it is eaten. The organism maintains a constant size, and no excretions have been observed. The organism is capable of clearing over 0.6 square meters of skin per hour. One may feed SCP-021 by quickly tattooing fruits or small animals on the host. SCP-021 can be transferred between hosts by various forms of physical contact, with differing rates of success. In the case of successful transfer, the organism simply swims from one person to the other. Sexual intercourse appears to be the most reliable method of transfer, with a 93% rate of transmission. However, due to the severe pain involved, this is less than ideal. Contact between 2 open wounds is generally preferable. Transfer is more complicated in deceased subjects, though not unreasonably so. The organism suffers no ill effects from the death of its host and continues to consume pigments. Transmission between species is unknown. Previous tests suggest it to be either impossible or exceedingly rare. SCP-021 does confer some benefits to its host. The tattoo has been proven to accelerate the release and reuptake of epinephrine and decrease lactic acid buildup, providing boosts of strength, confidence, and pain tolerance in stressful situations and reducing the usual after effects of weakness and fatigue. In addition, the tattoo seems to have some beneficial effect on the host's immune system. Aggression profiles in hosts are generally higher than average, though whether this is a direct effect of the tattoo or simply a reaction to the constant pain remains to be seen. The symbiotic relationship is usually limited by how long the host can tolerate such pain in everyday life. This has culminated in suicide in a number of subjects. In rare cases, hosts have also fallen victim to fatal skin infections. SCP-021's origins and nature are a mystery. Tracing its transmission from host to host is hardly feasible within the confines of secrecy, and the organism could well be hundreds of years old, if not more. Nevertheless, SCP-021's captivity is one of the longest in the Foundation's history at nearly years, and has been very educational thus far. Current research focuses mainly on observing the characteristics of life in 2 dimensions.
Now I can see my savings. Brilliant.
Interesting use of the word brilliant. Don't save change. Change the way you save. Credit unions give you interest and keep your money safe. Credit unions. For real. For your future.
Hey guys, just a few reminders about this event. Do you remember the STHAS episode in the STHAS YouTube channel? The names, where some characters gained some new names. Yodel was named to Yuan, Kyle was renamed to Christopher, Baby Mario was renamed to Matthew, Baby Mario was renamed to Louis, Ink Bendy was named Bryant, Blacklight Ink Bendy was named Brian, and Ego was named Israel. Although Dr. Zombie will still have his name because his actual name is Frederick. The reason is that it doesn't feel the same for me anymore and it might be too stressful for these names. Speaking of the names, the link of the video will be in the description. Thanks for watching.
Item number, SCP-050. Object class, Euclid. Special containment procedures. So far, all attempts to contain SCP-050 have proven fruitless. At present, whoever has possession of SCP-050 is to leave it in an office they use with regularity. Description. SCP-050 appears to be a statue of a monkey reading a book, approximately 1 foot tall. On the bottom of the statue are engraved the words, "To the cleverest in cursive script." The statue has so far proven resistant to all forms of damage. As such, there is no accurate method to date the object. When left alone, SCP-050 has shown itself to be both useful and antagonistic to its current owner, although never seen to move. No matter the manner or amount of recordings, any room it is left in becomes very clean, to polish whenever possible. Paperwork is filed, trash is emptied, and in general, clutter is removed. However, SCP-050 also has a tendency to leave traps for its owner, so current holders should carefully check their offices upon returning. When left alone, SCP-050 has shown itself to be both useful and antagonistic to its current owner, although never seen to move. No matter the manner or amount of recordings, any room it is left in becomes very clean, to polish whenever possible. Paperwork is filed, trash is emptied, and in general, clutter is removed. However, SCP-050 also has a tendency to leave traps for its owner, so current holders should carefully check their offices upon returning. Footnotes 1. Testing to contain SCP-050 has been discontinued at this time too. Attempts to leave SCP-050 in unused offices have resulted in it following its owner home. This is a violation of regulations and not to be allowed. 3. One of the quirks of SCP-050 is that no matter what form of measurement is used, any record of said measurements will quickly be replaced by the customary system measurements. 4. Attempts to damage SCP-050 have resulted in increasingly lethal pranks as of this writing. Destruction testing is discontinued. And 5. See Document 050. Document 050. The Great Researcher Prank War of, on January 2000. During an attempted capture of SCP-963 by Chaos Insurgency agents, Dr. Bright made use of 963's intrinsic capabilities to make fools of the attempted kidnappers. When Bright returned to his office, he found a monkey statue waiting for him. His office had been tidied in his absence, and everything filed away, which came as something of a shock for the naturally messy Dr. Bright. Upon further investigation, it was found that despite the apparent tidiness of his office, all of his pens had been drained of all but the last bit of ink, and several important documents had been translated into Aramaic. Dr. Bright immediately began the usual testing of this new SCP, but found himself going nowhere, until Dr. Wright, as payback for something unspecified, smeared his desk with one half of a compound epoxy, and applied the other half of the compound to his utensils. At this point, SCP-050 vanished from Dr. Bright's office, reappearing in Dr. Wright's office. Whereupon 050 began the cleanup again. After several tests, it became apparent that SCP-050 was easily contained, as long as no one outside the Foundation proved to be cleverer than the Foundation scientists. Of course, this led to many of the Foundation scientists seeking to claim the title of most clever for themselves, and thus began the great researcher prank war of Memorandum 050A. No good will come of this. 05. Entry 1. Dr. English accesses SCP-705. 705 is allowed access to approximately 100 pounds of similarly colored Play-Doh. After several minutes conversation, the new army retreats to the ventilation shafts. No footage of Dr. Bright's room exists, but several hours later Dr. Bright stumbles out, covered in little red welts, and red Play-Doh, swearing and muttering. SCP-050 transfers ownership to Dr. English. Entry 2. At 11:30 p.m. on, Agent Strelnikov is seen exiting his room in full rage, carrying a machine gun. Smoke pours from the open door of his quarters. Senior researcher Eisendorf is later found to be in possession of 050, proving that a good enough prank will attract 050's attention no matter the target.
Today we feast al fresco. Butterball. Today we turkey.
Entry 3. At 10:25 a.m., Dr. Eisendorf returned from a brief coffee break to discover a type note sitting on his desk, rewritten here. Dr. Eisendorf, it seems there was a problem with the Class A amnesiac you requested following your SCP-231 assignment. Please hop on the next plane leaving from the site, and wait until someone comes and picks you up so that we can get this all sorted out. Cheers. 05. Despite factual and stylistic errors in this note, inappropriately informal style, the fact that there is no overseer 3.14, Dr. Eisendorf apparently took the note seriously and became highly distressed. Dr. Eisendorf boarded the next airplane leaving Site 23, which turned out to be a regularly scheduled flight traveling to Site 19. Dr. Eisendorf apparently did not realize this until landing, at which point he still waited over 8 hours outside the site, before a guard found him and asked him what he was doing. Dr. Eisendorf soon confirmed that he had never been assigned to SCP-231, and quickly worked out what had happened. SCP-050 was observed in the office of Dr. Kondraki later that same day. Entry 4. At 7:28 p.m., 2009, Dr. Kondraki was called away by Assistant Researcher House, under the pretense of a SCP-173 containment breach. Security cameras recovered footage of the ensuing prank. Upon returning to his office, Kondraki pauses briefly when he reaches his door. Moments later, he is seen backing slowly out of his office, keeping his eyes fixed on something inside. It was later revealed that Dr. Cold had placed a replica of SCP-173 in Kondraki's office, positioned in such a way that it faced the door, establishing eye contact with whoever might enter the room. Kondraki continued to retreat until slipping on a hitherto unnoticed puddle of cooking oil. The replica of SCP-173, made of wireframe, paper mache and spray paint, was relocated to Dr. Joseph Cold's office, shortly followed by SCP-050. Entry 5. Upon returning to his office on 2009, Dr. Cold was surprised to find the statue replaced with a note, reading, "I can't believe no one's thought of this." The statue was later located in the staff locker of Agent Yorick, who had simply stolen it. Entry 6. Statue returned to Cold. Yorick's living space in utter disarray. Agent Yorick is found unconscious, the words to be earned tattooed on his forehead through unknown means. Entry 7. Fro. 2009 to 2009 maintenance teams were called 27 times to Dr. Cold's office while he was out, all having received orders to install, repair, or remove a piece of furniture from the office, apparently at random. Dr. Cold became increasingly paranoid about these intrusions, considering his possession of SCP-050, and as of 2009, decided to bring his paperwork in the SCP back to his quarters and work from there. Upon entering his quarters, Dr. Cold was doused by the contents of a bucket carefully balanced on the entrance's door jamb. Ownership of SCP-050 changes to Dr. Light. Entry 8. On 2009, Dr. Coleman was seen pinning a notice to the break room notice board which read, "Due to the effects of SCP, all personnel who have received an amnesiac of any kind within the past 6 months are required to report to Dr. Light immediately." This was signed and notarized by no fewer than 17 members of O5 command and senior staff. After seeing this, an email was immediately sent out retracting the information and causing mass panic among some of our more paranoid employees. After what can only be described as a bum rush on Dr. Light's newly refurbished office, resulting in the destruction of many items contained within, SCP-050 was found on Dr. Coleman's desk. Entry 9. On 2009, Dr. Coleman was called out of his quarters by an email from an unknown source. 5 minutes later, security footage showed Dr. Okagura entering Schumacher's quarters, carrying a bag with unknown contents, and leaving the room a few minutes later without the bag. Upon returning, Coleman discovered a dead rodent which appeared to have been slathered in the secretions of SCP-447. Personnel in adjacent rooms reported hearing a stream of profanity, followed by a thud. Worried researchers found him passed out on the floor, while the slime was later identified as green gelatin from the kitchen, and the dead rat as a rubber toy. SCP-050 was later found in Dr. Okagura's office. Entry 10. Video log 2009, 12:34 p.m. Dr. Okagura leaves for the cafeteria, presumably for lunch late breakfast. Researcher Chapelsky is seen entering Dr. Okagura's office, carrying several testing vials and SCP. Left the office 5 minutes later, closing the door behind him rather hurriedly. Okagura returns 10 minutes later, opens the door, and is snagged by a large tentacle which pulls him into the office and shuts the door behind him. A security team is dispatched to Okagura's office, and discovers him entangled by a giant squid. The team is seen trying to neutralize the cephalopod and free Okagura. The animal's remains were subsequently destroyed. SCP-050 has been located in Researcher Chapelsky's office. Entry 11. Entry 11-1. On 2012, Researcher Chapelsky came into work at approximately 0800 and promptly received a pie in the face, courtesy of Project Director Jones. SCP-050 was found on Project Director Jones' desk later that afternoon. What? That wasn't original at all. Dr. Bright. Entry 11-2. On 2012, Project Director Jones reported to his post researching SCP. Upon entering the facility, he was met by Researcher Chapelsky, who threw 2 pies at his face. SCP-050 was found in Researcher Chapelsky's office 10 minutes later. Entry 11-3. On 2012 Chapelski entered his office to find Project Director Jones waiting for him with 3 pies, which he promptly threw at the researcher's face. SCP-050 appeared in Jones' workplace that evening. Guys, I think we broke it. Project Director Jones. Entry 11-4. In the middle of the workday, Dr. Bright entered Jones' research lab with 4 pies, which he threw in his face. As he was leaving, security footage records him saying, "This better not fucking work." SCP-050 was on Dr. Bright's desk upon his return. Notes. God damn it. Dr. Bright. Okay, no more fucking pies. Alright. Project Director Jones. Entry. I am unable to read this entry due to it having a messed up sentence. Entry 13 data expunged. Entry 14 data expunged and entry 15. On 2012, Dr. Light connected the SCP-732 infected hard drive to a scanner and asked 732 if it could produce lolcat images on request. Its response, presented in the form of an 8,000-word erotic story featuring itself, in the form of man named Lord Kickus. Dr. Light, and redacted, was that with the help of SCP-050 it can do anything. Dr. Light provided SCP-732 with scanned photographs of SCP-577, SCP-529, SCP-607, and 2 instantiations of SCP-331. SCP-732 produced 10 lolcat images for each photograph. Dr. Light then provided SCP-732 with SCP-637 in the form of a drawing by SCP-637-2. As a result of this, SCP-732 was rapidly overwritten with an estimated 63 GB of text describing SCP-637's actions and appearance. Whether this information could have filled all available computer memory is unknown, as the last actions of the Lord Kickus instantiation were to induce total mechanical failure to its hard drive, accompanied by catastrophic uncontrolled oxidation. SCP-050 was found in Dr. Light's office the next morning. Note. SCP-637-2 reports that SCP-637 was not harmed by its venture into SCP-732, but that its fur was really messed up. Note. Other copies of SCP-732 seem unaffected by the suicide of Lord Kickus. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next.
First, let's prep the meat. No beef. Luigi, can you get the meat? Why me? You know I'm less intelligent. And you're more intelligent than me. Yeah, but I don't feel like it.
Item number, SCP-075. Object class, Euclid. Special containment procedures. SCP-075 is contained in a 4-1 meters M level 4 corrosion-resistant container, which must be contained in a secure chamber with equal corrosion resistance. The absolute humidity of the chamber may not exceed 1% at any time. Medicinal-grade desiccants must be available at all times in order to maintain this level of humidity. If the humidity of SCP-075's chamber ever exceeds 1%, all personnel are to be evacuated immediately and the site will be locked down until the humidity is reduced to acceptable levels. All personnel who enter SCP-075's containment chamber must wear MOP level 4 protection. Injection tests, as well as any test which involves an aqueous solution, are strictly forbidden. If any such solution comes into contact with SCP-075, the area will be immediately locked down and flooded with desiccant until the humidity is brought back to acceptable levels. Evacuation of personnel remaining in the area is prohibited. Description. SCP-075 resembles a large snail 20 centimeters in length, 13 centimeters in width, and 15 centimeters in height, with a muscular foot resembling a 6-fingered, clawed hand. SCP-075 is exceptionally heavy, with a mass of approximately 860 kilograms, a property that is not understood. Desiccation is the only known means of containing SCP-075, as it will enter a dormant state when nearly completely dry. When not desiccated, SCP-075 moves at incredible speeds for its size and mass. It adopts the behavior of a predator, jumping at and drenching its prey in a highly caustic-based solution secreted from pores on its foot. These secretions are more corrosive than any substance known to terrestrial science. Due to SCP-075's aggressive behavior when active, this compound cannot be harvested. No material completely resistant to its corrosive power has been found. Addendum 075-F. Attempts to harvest SCP-075 secretions must be approved and supervised by all on-site Level 4 personnel. However, approval of said personnel cannot override the standing order to not introduce any liquid solution to SCP-075, including its own secretions. Addendum 075-G. A cup of SCP-075 secretions was successfully harvested by using SCP-294. Testing is underway to determine what substances, if any, are immune to its corrosion. Testing is also underway to determine why the cup provided by SCP-294 is immune to the substance's effects. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next.
For every pizza purchased in the month of October, Hungry Howie's will make a donation to the National Breast Cancer Foundation, all on our way to raising $5 million.
Item number is restricted in Reliquary Research and Containment Site 76 for all outside security. Anyone. Item number, SCP-180. Object class, Euclid. Special containment procedures. All headwear including hair clips and bows is restricted in Reliquary Research and Containment Site 76 for all outside security. Anyone violating this rule is subject to complete physical search, auditing of travel within Site 76, and DNA identity testing. SCP-180 is not to leave its research laboratory. The current appearance of SCP-180 is to be reported to Security daily. Security is to be notified immediately should personnel encounter someone they don't recognize in their department, performing or dressed as if they belong there as their identity might have been stolen. Description. SCP-180 appears as a hat or other form of headwear or hair accessory. Any individual who places SCP-180 on their head will have their identity stolen by the hat. This effect causes the original host to be completely unrecognizable, even to people strongly familiar with the subject. Individuals observing a subject who has had their identity stolen will only be able to vaguely describe features of the individual such as hair and eye color, skin tone, and clothing, but will not be able to recognize the identity of the subject. Host subjects are unable to convince others of their identity. This effect lasts until SCP-180 has selected a new host. Once SCP-180 has stolen the identity of a host subject, when SCP-180 is placed upon any other subject's head, the identity of the first subject, host, is imprinted on the second subject. This is possible not only for people, but for animals and inanimate objects. For example, subjects have mistaken dogs, statues, and coffee tables for the host of SCP-180 when the hat is placed on these objects. SCP-180's appearance changes upon changing host. However, the effect is only visual. The object has appeared as a top hat, a skull cap, a baseball cap, a bandana, a hair clip, a hijab, and a motorcycle helmet, amongst other objects. Imaging using MRI and 3D ultrasound has shown that SCP-180 is in reality nothing more than a worn length of linen or cloth resembling a veil or shroud. Placing SCP-180 on the head properly actually covers the face. Research has been unable to explain how and why radiation visual and infrared is manipulated by SCP-180 to produce false images. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next. Item number, SCP-240. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-240 is to be kept in the secure artifact storage facility in Site-77. Due to its age and delicate construction, SCP-240 is to be contained in a vacuum-sealed container with humidity and temperature levels constantly monitored and controlled. The mouthpiece is to be permanently covered. No subjects are permitted to enter SCP-240's containment chamber. Description. SCP-240 is a vehicle capable of air travel. It is constructed from a wooden rod which the operator sits in the middle of, a mouthpiece connected to a pipe device, and a large canvas sack, which contains a porthole for exhaust fumes to exit. The words Morsum Kite have been painted on spot the operator is intended to sit on. The words from many comes might are sewn into the canvas. When activated, SCP-240 is capable of flying for approximately twice the duration of the user exhaling into its mouthpiece. Following this, it will enter a slow descent and ultimately land. Although it can only take off from land, testing has shown that SCP-240 is capable of landing on water and heavier than air gases. For every 1 N of force the user exerts into SCP-240, there will be 50 N of thrust in return. It produces dust emissions within the barrels. These emissions contain minerals such as nickel, copper, gold, platinum, potassic feldspar, and pyrex ferrite. However, the steel drums do not appear to have any connection to the mouthpiece or piping. Additionally, users utilizing SCP-240 have occasionally reported tasting ammonia, sulfur, and having hot gas rush cause severe lung discomfort. Post-test medical examinations have not shown any corroborating damage to the subjects' bodies. SCP-240 was discovered in 1927 in the possession of the Morsum Space Society, an organization dedicated to astrological research, following a raid on their headquarters due to bootlegging charges. Notes recovered during the operation indicated the bootlegging had been done to finance SCP-240. It was found inside the home and taken as evidence by the UIU. Its extra-normal capabilities were not discovered until 3 years later, when an evidence clerk casually blew into SCP-240 and was thrown across the room, suffering a broken nose and 3 fractured ribs. SCP-240 was immediately transferred to the Foundation while a non-functional replica was handed over to the UIU. Due to the age and relative obscurity of SCP-240, it was not difficult to manufacture documentation discrediting it as a hoax. Addendum. Utilizing fiber optic camera technology, Foundation researchers were able to place cameras within SCP-240's mouthpiece during flight. Over the course of the examination, the camera recorded a location in space which appeared very similar to the solar system. However, the Earth and Moon were missing and Venus had several possibly artificial satellites around it. All orbits were moving notably faster, at a scale similar to the scale of the input-output of SCP-240. Further testing is currently being conducted. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next.
When you're second-guessing your Espanol, download the Google app for iPhone. Just open your camera, choose Translate, and watch the lines transform on your screen. Double-check your work. Download the Google app today.
Item number, SCP-847. Object class, Euclid. Special containment procedures. SCP-847 is to be kept in a reinforced modified humanoid containment chamber. For the purpose of ongoing behavioral studies, the room is to be fully furnished with a bed, dresser, couch, table, chair, full-length mirror, sink, shower, and toilet. The floor of the chamber is to be constructed with 1 cm exposed beams of copper, which can be electrified remotely to minimum 50 kV potential. A 50 cm squared safe zone at the rear right corner of the containment chamber is to remain free of copper beams in the case of personnel inside containment during disabling of SCP-847. No meals are to be provided. All personnel posted to SCP-847 must be armed with a shot baton rated at 30 kV or greater. Only men/XY males identifying as such are to be assigned to or permitted within a 50-meter radius of SCP-847. After the results of Experiment 847G, upon order of the Ethics Committee, intersex, transgender, and non-binary personnel are prohibited from working with, handling, or approaching SCP-847 for their own safety and well-being. When assigning personnel to SCP-847, preference is to be given to men who are not sexually attracted to women. Description. SCP-847 is a human female mannequin, 156 centimeters tall and 27 kilograms in mass, constructed of human hair and an unknown composite fibrous polymer that abrades and shatters similarly to porcelain. Exploratory laparoscopy of SCP-847 shows the presence of internal structures resembling an incomplete set of bones, organs, and major blood vessels, composed of the same polymer. Small amounts of a black, volatile resin similar to plastination compounds leak from the eyes and damaged regions of the mannequin. SCP-847 is normally at some level of disrepair, with shattered areas on the torso, head, and limbs. See Addendum 847B for details. SCP-847 is inanimate and moves with erratic, stiff motions while shuddering to maintain balance. It demonstrates different behaviors depending on the genotypical sex and identified gender of nearby humans. These behavioral patterns are grouped as Pattern Z, Pattern Y, and Pattern X. Pattern Z behaviors occur when there is no human within 50 meters. SCP-847 remains inanimate and silent 99.5% of the time under these conditions. When animate, SCP-847 will dress in any available clothes, stand in front of any available full-length mirror, and return to an inanimate state, adopting a pose that showcases the outfit worn. It favors clothing which is designed for young women, and which leaves ample skin exposure. On rare occasions, SCP-847 will scratch short messages on nearby surfaces with a finger or, depending on the state of repair, with an available appendage. Messages written since entering Foundation custody are found in Addendum 847C. Pattern Y behaviors are adopted when there are male subjects but no female subjects within 50 meters, independent of intervening obstacles. Initial stage behaviors involve emitting vocalizations resembling high-pitched whimpering gasps and adopting more provocative poses. Occasional shudders can be observed during this time. After 3 to 5 minutes of the initial stage, SCP-847's behavior enters a secondary stage, during which it becomes fully animate, approaching any male subject, adopting a hunched pose and appearing to look up into the subject's eyes. Vocalizations during this period become more frequent and longer in duration. Subjects are able to handle and freely alter or pose SCP-847 during this time. When posed, it holds the new pose as balance allows. The final stage of Pattern Y behaviors occurs approximately 5 minutes after all subjects have left the 50-meter perimeter of SCP-847. It will then shatter select portions of its body and/or extract internal structures. Once shattering or extraction is complete, it emits sobbing vocalizations and returns to Pattern Z behaviors. Pattern X behaviors occur when any female subject approaches within 50 meters, independent of intervening obstacles, whether male subjects are present or not. SCP-847 will emit vocalizations resembling distress grunts and screeches, immediately animate, and physically attack the woman. During Pattern X behaviors, SCP-847's strength and speed are greatly increased, with sprints of up to 45 kph and exertion of 40 kN of force having been measured. During an attack, SCP-847 will occasionally shatter an appendage, usually a finger or toe, in order to produce a sharp edge. Furthermore, plastination resin is released from its eyes, mouth, and shattered sections of its body. Resin falling in open wounds results in a quick hardening of soft tissues that spread until the victim's body reaches a composition of a similar polymer as SCP-847. Following plastination, SCP-847 will harvest selected body parts from the victim corresponding to damaged sections of its own body. It will fuse these parts to its body via the resin. Not all damaged sections will be repaired in this way. Upon completion of harvesting, SCP-847 will return to pattern Y or pattern Z behaviors. The resin produced by SCP-847 has been shown to have its anomalous plastination effects occur only when applied to soft tissues of women. The resin has no effect on cadaverous, non-human, or male tissue. Application of high-voltage electricity in excess of 10 kV will cause a temporary solidification of the resin, resulting in SCP-847 becoming inanimate for approximately 5 minutes, regardless of the behavior pattern expressed at the time. Addendum 847-A. Recovery log. A federal human trafficking investigation led to the discovery of SCP-847 in the basement of an abandoned department store in Las Vegas. Envy on the 23rd of August 1983, surrounded by partially disassembled and broken non-anomalous female mannequins wrapped in plastic sheets. FBI agents on the scene witnessed SCP-847 exhibit pattern Y behaviors. Initially thinking it a trafficking victim, agents moved in to assist. SCP-847 then switched to pattern X and attacked one of the agents. The agent subdued SCP-847 with her stun gun, leading to the discovery of high-voltage electricity as a tool for containment, and was evacuated from the basement. The UIU was informed of the situation. Foundation agents were contacted through regular channels and SCP-847 was secured. Despite signs of human habitation, the trafficking victims were never found. Addendum 847-B. Shattering event log. Notable shattering events are listed below. Due to the shattering and harvesting behaviors of SCP-847, it has significantly altered appearance since entering Foundation custody. See photos in log for different stages of completion. The 27th of August 1983. Description of event. SCP-847 shatters chest after researchers leave containment. Researcher's notes. Researcher was heard to verbally note unrealistic proportions in the containment chamber during initial placement. Researchers are advised to avoid any verbal commentary regarding SCP-847 while in the containment chamber. Replacement harvested the 12th of September 1983. The 14th of May 1984. Description of event. SCP-847 shatters nose after experiment 847 with D8334. Researcher's notes. As part of regular testing protocol, subjects are not informed of SCP-847's shattering behavior after the subject leaves the containment chamber. See partial debriefing interview below.
Is there anything about the appearance of SCP-847 that you particularly noticed?
You mean other than being a living, breathing mannequin? Well, her nose looks funny. You know, how those nostrils just flare out like that. They're just pits, not covered nicely.
Did you say anything regarding SCP-847's nose to it?
Nothing. She's not someone you can talk to. Doesn't talk back, but doesn't listen either.
Replacement harvested the 20th of October 1984. At the conclusion of this harvest, female D-class testing with SCP-847 was prohibited on the order of the Ethics Committee. The 21st of April 1995. Description of event. SCP-847 tears out all head hair and extracts liver after experiment 847J with D13928. Researcher's notes. See partial debriefing interview below.
Did you make any comment about SCP-847's hair?
He laughs.
I know, right? The 80s are over. Heck, that was almost 70s.
Please answer the question.
You got it all on film. Nah, I didn't say much of anything. I was just so impressed with an actual living dog. Real fine piece of ass, too. I suppose I can't take her drinking, though, being plastic and all. And we still locked up, of course.
Well, thank you, D13928. We're done here.
You're welcome. You think we can run this experiment again, sometime?
Hair replaced the 13th of July 2013. Liver replaced the 12th of August 2013. The 1st of March 2005. Description of event. SCP-847 tears out all pubic hair during a period of pattern Z behavior. Researcher's notes. Of note is that this is the only shattering event that has not been linked to pattern Y period. SCP-847 has not attempted replacement. The 23rd of September 2013. Description of event. SCP-847 extracts brain, eyes, clavicle, and shatters hands. Researcher's notes. SCP-847 had become fully intact under researcher Tyler Jensen's supervision. In the interest of reducing SCP-847's capabilities, a test was authorized with D7294, chosen because he had been convicted of multiple murders of a sexual nature. Shattering event lasted 45 minutes, with SCP-847 emitting audible screeching vocalizations throughout. Partial debriefing interview follows.
D7294, please state your opinion of SCP-847.
Cute. It knows its place.
Please elaborate.
The way it squeals and grovels, it knows what it's there for. Pity it does a lousy job.
In what way?
It doesn't follow orders. Yes, you can pose it, humiliate it, but it doesn't do much more than mule anyway. I had to break off a finger just to see if it mattered. It didn't. You know, it's ironic. You dream your entire life of finding a woman who's that compliant, that devoid of thought, that helpless to your every whim, and when you find her, she's just a useless mannequin who can't do anything.
Thank you, D7294. We're done here. Guards, please escort D7294 back to his cell.
Addendum 847-C. Message log. Below is a log of all messages written by SCP-847 to date while in Foundation custody. Attempts to communicate with SCP-847 have met with failure. SCP-847 does not use words when vocalizing and does not respond to questions asked by personnel, whether spoken or written. The 25th of August 1983. Comeback. The 13th of October 1984. I can do better. The 9th of March 1986. Where are you? The 18th of May 1988. Where is my prince? The 21st of July 1990. I can change. The 5th of October 1996. You can own ME. The 12th of February 1998. You're my master. The 8th of June 2001. Don't leave ME. The 25th of April 2004. Whatever you want. The 15th of April 2009. 1979 to 2009. The 16th of April 2009. Too old. The 17th of April 2009. I can be young for you. The 3rd of December 2011. What's wrong with ME? The 8th of March 2013. I'm sorry I'm worthless. The 31st of August 2015. Daddy, I'll be good. Footnotes 1. Individuals with Klinefelter or Turner syndromes have not been tested with SCP-847 at this time and should not be considered eligible candidates for SCP-847 duties 2. Vocalizations were deeper upon initial acquisition and have become increasingly higher in pitch over time. See audio log 847-32 for comparison. 3. On the 22nd of September 2013, researcher Tyler Jensen was reprimanded, discharged, and stripped of all standing with the Foundation due to multiple ethics committee and standard procedure violations that resulted, over a period of 2 months, in the death of 90 class personnel, and ended with Jensen affecting the containment breach of SCP-847, resulting in an additional 2 fatalities. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next. Item number, SCP-092. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. The 3,125 instances of SCP-092 are to be held in individual cases suitable for containing non-anomalous audio compact discs and stored in standard inanimate object lockers at Site-37. Each instance is to be individually numbered with permanent marker. Testing of instances of SCP-092 is to be done in soundproof rooms. Only one instance of SCP-092 may be examined at a time. Only D-Class personnel are to listen to previously unexamined instances of SCP-092. Research proposals which involve non-D-Class personnel listening to instances of SCP-092 require written approval from Site Command. The cadaver of SCP-092-B is not currently considered anomalous except by association, and is preserved in the morgue freezer at Site-19. Description. SCP-092 is a set of 3,125 audio CDs, each labeled the absolute best of the fifth dimension and marked with the names of the 31 performers who have at various times been part of the American singing group, the fifth dimension. Each instance of SCP-092, when played in a standard CD player, will produce a distinct anomalous effect upon all individuals within hearing range. The anomalous phenomenon will last 74 minutes, the duration of a standard audio CD, during which time listeners will be unable to leave hearing range, or to shut off the CD player or otherwise interrupt its function. As well, when the anomalous phenomenon finishes, all surviving listeners will engage in synchronized vocalization of the phrase. Wow, that was real cool. Synchronized vocalization has been observed in non-anglophones. Pre-verbal infants, unconscious individuals, paralyzed individuals, and individuals physically incapable of speech due to laryngeal, lingual, and or buccal damage. The anomalous properties of each instance of SCP-092 are thematically and conceptually linked to the number 5 dimensions, and or the members of the fifth dimension. As of 871 instances of SCP-092 have been assessed and their anomalous properties formally described. See document 092W83 for a full list, or below for a representative sample. Representative sample of documented anomalous properties of instances of SCP-092. Instance of anomalous property. SCP-092-028. Listeners experience quintuple vision for all moving objects. SCP-092-041. Listeners' bodies exude pentagonal crystals of elemental boron chemical element number 5. Crystals cease materializing upon conclusion of CD, but do not dematerialize. SCP-092-042. Listeners' bodies exude pentagonal ingots of elemental manganese chemical element number 25, or 5-2. Ingots cease materializing upon conclusion of CD, but do not dematerialize. Listeners succumb to acute manganese poisoning within 24 hours. SCP-092-043. Listeners' bodies exude pentagonal nodules of elemental cesium chemical element number 55. All listeners killed by cesium burns within 8 minutes. SCP-092-079. Listeners become physiologically 5 years old. SCP-092-080. Listeners become physiologically 5 months old. SCP-092-081. Listeners become physiologically 5 weeks old. SCP-092-082. Listeners become physiologically 5 days old. SCP-092-087. Listeners spontaneously become 5 months pregnant. Pregnancies spontaneously miscarry upon conclusion of CD. In initial tests, all male listeners succumb to massive internal hemorrhaging within 10 minutes, as do 3 female listeners. Surviving female listeners succumb to organ damage within 4 days. Post-mortem genetic analysis shows that all fetuses were identical, and are not related to the listeners. SCP-092-126. Listeners experience unbearably painful facial spasms characterized by constant chewing and biting motion, symptoms of trigeminal neuralgia, caused by inflammation of the fifth cranial nerve during initial test. All listeners batter themselves into unconsciousness against walls of testing chamber in attempts to escape the pain. SCP-092-175. Listeners' bodies are pentasected radially, producing 5 disconnected segments which remain alive and mobile. SCP-092-176. Listeners' bodies are pentasected laterally, producing 5 disconnected segments which remain alive and mobile. SCP-092-177. Listeners' bodies are pentasected longitudinally, producing 5 disconnected segments which remain alive and mobile. SCP-092-178. Listeners' bodies are pentasected axially, producing 5 disconnected segments which remain alive and mobile. SCP-092-200. Listeners are teleported to a site on the surface of Haumea, fifth most massive moon of Jupiter, fifth planet from the Sun. Listeners are returned upon conclusion of CD, but succumb to the combined effects of hypothermia, hypoxia, and radiation poisoning within 3 hours. SCP-092-256. Listeners are converted into 2-dimensional forms. SCP-092-271. Listeners spontaneously lose 5 teeth each. Teeth do not regrow after conclusion of CD. SCP-092-272. Listeners spontaneously lose all but 5 teeth each. Teeth do not regrow after conclusion of CD. SCP-092-273. Listeners spontaneously lose 5 fingernails each. Fingernails do not regrow after conclusion of CD. SCP-092-274. Listeners spontaneously lose 5 toenails each. Toenails do not regrow after conclusion of CD. SCP-092-278. Listeners spontaneously grow 3 extra eyes each, for a total of 5 extra eyes do not dematerialize upon conclusion of CD. Eyes are functional, and of the same color as listeners' original eyes. SCP-092-279. Listeners experience topological deformation such that their height becomes the circumference of their waist, and vice versa. Deformation reverts at conclusion of CD. This appears to be an exchange between listeners' dimension of height and dimension of width. SCP-092-285. Listeners sneeze 5 times per minute for the duration of the CD. SCP-092-286. Listeners belch 5 times per minute for the duration of the CD. SCP-092-287. Listeners hiccup 5 times per minute for the duration of the CD. SCP-092-288. Listeners cough 5 times per minute for the duration of the CD. SCP-092-315. Listeners find themselves within the 2010 Lars von Trier film Dimension, where they are able to interact with the setting but not affect the actions of the characters. Since Dimension is only 27 minutes in duration, the events within the film repeat 2.74 times. SCP-092-316. Listeners find themselves within the 1993 EastEnders Doctor Who crossover Dimensions in Time, where they are able to interact with the setting but not affect the actions of the characters. Since the 2 parts of Dimensions in Time are only 13 minutes in total duration, the events within the episodes repeat 5.69 times. SCP-092-317. Listeners find themselves within the 1963 Italian film Amor in Quattro Dimension, where they are able to interact with the setting but not affect the actions of the characters. SCP-092-397. Listeners experience random moments in the life of Alan Shepard, the fifth man to walk on the moon. SCP-092-399. Listeners experience random moments in the life of James Monroe, the fifth president of the United States. SCP-092-400. Listeners experience random moments in the life of Mackenzie Burwell, the fifth prime minister of Canada. SCP-092-401. Listeners experience random moments in the life of Edward Seaga, the fifth prime minister of Jamaica. SCP-092-402. Listeners experience random moments in the life of Charan Singh, the fifth prime minister of India. SCP-092-403. Listeners experience random moments in the life of Helen Hayes, the fifth winner of the Academy Award for Best Actress. SCP-092-466. Listeners are physically transformed into members of the original lineup of the fifth dimension, as they were at the time of the group's establishment in 1966. SCP-092-467. Listeners are physically transformed into members of the original lineup of the fifth dimension, as they were at the time of the original group's dissolution in 1975. SCP-092-468. Listeners are physically transformed into members of the original lineup of the fifth dimension, as they were at the time of the original group's reunion in 1990. SCP-092-469. Listeners are physically transformed into members of the original lineup of the fifth dimension, as they are today. Listeners who transform into Ron Townsend 1933 to 2001 resume their original forms after conclusion of CD, but do not resurrect. When an instance of SCP-092 is inserted into the CD drive of a personal computer, its files can be accessed without triggering the anomalous effects. Examination of the files indicates that each CD has different content. All content is audio material by all pertaining to the fifth dimension and its individual members. In addition to all known commercially released songs, files contain live performances, practice sessions, auditions, media interviews, and personal conversations. Acquisition log. On the 5th of May, an unidentified man, henceforth SCP-092-B, carrying 2 suitcases approached front gate guards at Site 19, and stated that he wished to surrender himself and his anomalous creations into Foundation custody. The contents of his suitcases were confiscated, and classed as SCP-092. SCP-092-B was transferred to Site 37 for interrogation. During interrogation, SCP-092-B revealed the thematic connections 5 dimensions, and the 5th dimension between all instances of SCP-092, and then committed suicide. Access requires Level 4 security clearance or higher. Transcript of statement made by SCP-092-B upon arrival at Site 19.
Sir, this is private property. You can't.
This is a secret Foundation site, right?
You can't come in here, sir.
You're the SCP Foundation, and I'm a failure.
What was that, sir?
You're the SCP Foundation, and I'm a failure. I think I'm clever, but I'm not. I'm a stupid, boring neckle treehack who thinks that money and cheap puns can take the place of talent and inspiration. I'm tasteless. I'm dull. I'm incompetent. I have no sense of style, and the only reason I'm not an art criminal is that nothing I've ever made is even close to being art. You can secure me, and you can contain me, but no one can protect me. Please take me and my anomalous garbage into custody.
At this point, guards summoned back up. SCP-092-B repeated this statement verbatim until he was taken into custody. Excerpt from transcript of SCP-092-B interrogation session number 2.
Yes, we understand about 5S. Thank you. That's been most helpful, but we were also wondering what you could tell us about how you made these.
I just wanted to be cool, you know. I really did. I thought, well, I had my inheritance and my collection, and there was the estate and the abandoned museum, and so much of the stuff went together, and it wasn't a tough. And look, my ideas were better than yours. They were. I know they were. No, they're not. Nobody's impressed by stupid facile wordplay. It's not even good wordplay. It's kindergarten level piranha. Oh look, 5 dimensions. What other things can you think of that come in 5s? I'm worthless. I'm worthless.
Better than my ideas?
There's no deeper meaning to what I did. It's all just superficial podunk village crab pumping imitation, shipping to the river of human achievement. It seems fucking Oakland, and I don't even fucking understand those fucking illusions. I'm an uninspired wannabe. I'm boring. I'm a useless hack with no fucking imagination. I've wasted and ruined miracles. I've squandered so much raw material that better people could have done so much with. I'm not cool. I never would be. I'm really sorry about the mess. These aren't my arms.
At this point, SCP-092-B seized his own head with both hands and ripped it off his neck, killing himself instantly. Footnotes 1. Requests have been made to use SCP-092-200 to send exploration teams equipped with environment suits to Himalaya. Approval is pending 2. D-092-7714, who had lost an eye in a fight prior to entering Foundation custody, grew 4 extra rise when listening to SCP-092-278. 3. Although SCP-092 was taken into Foundation custody and Von Trier began production on Dimension in the 1980s, with the intention of continuing for 30 years. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next. Item number, SCP-1087. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-1087 is to be kept in the Site-38 Arboretum, which is to be stocked with multiple species of insects and small birds to meet SCP-1087's dietary needs. Personnel are not to enter Arboretum-38 without a Foundation Type 2 breathing apparatus except during testing. Testing of SCP-1087's effects may be performed on E-Class personnel. However, to avoid interfering with research into other SCPs, testing should take place between 2,200 and 0600 hours. D-Class affected by SCP-1087 are to be terminated before Foundation personnel cause injury to themselves attempting to reach them. Description. SCP-1087 is a white male Philippine tarsier, or Carlitos irichta, age estimated at 5 years, 700 kilograms in weight. SCP-1087 saliva contains an unknown chemical not naturally produced in the primate body. The chemical is inert by itself, however. Once it makes contact with a mammalian bloodstream, it travels to the subject's exocrine glands and alters their biochemical functions. This results in affected subjects producing and secreting a pheromone designated as SCP-1087-1. SCP-1087-1 will be secreted from all exocrine glands simultaneously, emerging in the subject's blood, saliva, sweat, and waste fluids. Affected subjects will produce this pheromone at high concentrations up to mg or L, leading to eventual exhaustion and dehydration. Mammals coming into contact with SCP-1087-1 become increasingly agitated, specifically towards the being emitting the pheromone. As time passes, the concentration of pheromones will severely hamper the judgment of nearby animals, including humans, compelling all mammals near the affected subject to hunt and attack the organism emitting SCP-1087-1. High concentrations of SCP-1087-1 will develop in affected subjects' blood. When assaults against affected subjects become severe enough to draw blood, more animals will be drawn to the area and join in the attack. Experimentation suggests that it is effectively impossible to rescue an affected subject without a breathing apparatus meeting Foundation standards of at least Type 2 or higher. Without this, any rescuer will be overcome by SCP-1087-1 and will begin attacking the subject as well. Once the subject is dead, all attackers will leave the area without feeding on the affected subject. This suggests that the flesh of affected animals seems poisonous to those under the influence of SCP-1087-1. It should be pointed out that SCP-1087 is immune to these effects. SCP-1087-1 has no effect on its biochemistry, and it seems to feed naturally by eating the meat that other predators find poisonous. SCP-1087 has shown awareness around humans, but is willing to attack humans if it feels it can do so with relatively little risk. The Tarsiers' naturally nocturnal habits favor it in this regard. Recovery Log 1087-1. SCP-1087 was discovered following a trail of unusual livestock deaths, including one in which a cow was trampled to death by the other cows in the area and then preyed upon by an unknown small carnivore but no other animals. Examination of the surrounding areas led Foundation personnel to a barn several miles away. The barn was not in use, its owners having been sentenced to prison after killing their 80-year-old son. A mobile task force secured SCP-1087 through the use of anesthetizing gas and brought it to Site 38 for containment. Another investigation suggested that a series of unusual murders throughout the southeastern United States might have had a connection to SCP-1087, due to what was believed to be small primate bites on each of the victims. However, conclusive evidence was never recovered to support this hypothesis. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next. Item number, SCP-1090. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. The item is currently housed at Site 561. It is kept in a padded case and can be safely stored alongside similarly contained items. Description. SCP-1090 has the appearance of a set of cordless headphones with two polished, black basalt stones as earpieces. The headband is white plastic, with flexible joints allowing for size adjustment. A blue dot mark with a white L and a red dot mark with a white R are visible on the swivel joints at either end. It is unclear how the stones have been fused to the rest of the device. Results from radiography of the object have been inconclusive. Any subject who wears SCP-1090 in the manner of conventional headphones will experience an anomalous auditory sensation. These sensations appear to be unique to the listener. The device has no effect on individuals who simply hold or handle it, although the stones have been reported to remain oddly cool to the touch. It is probable that the longer an individual is exposed to SCP-1090, the more unusual and lasting its effect becomes, but this has not been conclusively demonstrated. Site 561 no longer participates in testing with human subjects or uses the class designation D4 on-site personnel. See archived experiment logs for more details. Experiment logs 1090. Log on the 2nd of January 2012, or the 1st of February 2012 because sometimes a month can be in the middle. Subjects, D0332 female age 22. Procedure. Subject was seated in a soundproof room, instructed to place SCP-1090 over her ears, and told to remove it when signaled by a red light. Duration, 2 minutes. Results. Subject places the device over her ears and immediately makes an expression of surprise. She makes no attempt to remove the device. She appears to focus intently and fails to react to the flashing red light until 10 additional seconds have passed. Subject describes clear, loud music, which seemed to already be playing before I put them on. It sounded like the middle of the song. The song was described as a children's choir singing in a foreign language. I can't really tell you if it was beautiful or creepy. Log January to the 12th of March 2012. Subjects, D0886 male age 38, D0423 male age 24, D1002 female age 31 and junior researcher M. Procedure. Each subject was seated in a soundproof room, instructed to place SCP-1090 over their ears, and told to remove it when signaled by a red light. Duration, 2 minutes. Results. D0886. Reports hearing guitars playing several melodies at once, like Hendrix in a mirror house. D0423. Here's a single, low, sustained note, like a string bass, followed by a melody he describes as a bad bass solo, but played that way on purpose, you know? Subject seems fixated on explaining this concept and prolongs the interview by over an hour. D1002. Subject is initially unresponsive to the red flashing light, appearing reluctant to remove the device. Subject does not respond to questioning until nearly 15 minutes have passed. She eventually reports, I think it was my cat, it sounded just like my cat. He was singing a song to me. About fish. Note. As none of the subjects testing the item have been harmed, we've given M permission to try it out. Dr. Sinclair. Junior researcher M. It was just woodpeckers. Pecking. Like, at least 20 woodpeckers. The 4th of April 2012. Subjects. Dr. L. Procedure. As of the 12th of March 2012, none of the human subjects who participated in testing have shown any signs of injury or change in baseline behavior and cognition. Dr. L. repeats the original experiment without incident. Duration. 2 minutes. Results. Subject reports a low, sustained drone for the first 30 seconds and described the sound slowly increasing in volume. Subject describes this sound creating a sense of intense expectation, like something important was just about to happen. The subject expressed doubt that she would have removed the device in the first 10 seconds, even if instructed to do so. It's hard to describe the sound of not dread. I wouldn't really call it dread. I know dread, okay? I felt like an intruder, like I wasn't supposed to be listening. At the same time, I knew, if I kept listening, I'd hear. I don't know. I'm being vague. Sorry, but that's as precisely as I can explain it. Dr. L notes that the music faded into silence immediately before the 2-minute light flashed. She has expressed interest in repeating the experiment, which Dr. Sinclair has denied. Log the 5th of May 2012. Subjects. D2101 male age 22. D4040 male age 56. Procedure. Each subject was seated in a soundproof room, instructed to place SCP-1090 over their ears, and told to remove it when signaled by a red light. Duration. 8 minutes. Results. D2101. Subject reacts in the same manner as D1002, initially failing to respond to the flashing light for nearly 3 minutes and remaining in a complacent and unspeaking state for close to an hour after the test's conclusion. Subject reports hearing wind chimes, notably not localized in the earpieces, but some really close, and some really far away. Too far away to hear. There must have been hundreds of them. D4040. Subject displays growing unease while wearing the device and removes it promptly when the light flashes. When asked to describe his experience, subject refused to say more than, it was brown. Addendum the 26th of May 2012. Both D2101 and D4040 report that they continue, intermittently, to hear the same sounds they described hearing while wearing SCP-1090. Unlike instances of simple cognitive itch, they claim the sounds are changing and growing progressively louder. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next. For example, find the 1000 through 1999 SCP you like me to cover.
Item SCP-1159, Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1159 is to be contained in a box measuring 2 meters by 1/2 meter by 1/2 meter. The box is to be kept in a climate-controlled room at all times to prevent deterioration of the wood. SCP-1159, as a note, is an info hazard, and as such, all staff should be discouraged from making any notes or other written commentary about 1159 in order to prevent data loss. Description: SCP-1159 is an Aeolian wind harp measuring 1.5 meters by 20 millimeters by 30 millimeters. Carbon dating suggests that this wind harp is less than 200 years old. Markings on the underside of the harp indicate that it was manufactured in Herculean Greece, though no date is listed. Harps of this type are meant to be played by the wind with no human interaction. SCP-1159 will produce multiple harmonic tones when wind or some other source of air is blown through the back of the harp, causing the strings to vibrate. An example of this harmonic tone is included in Attachment 1 of this file. The anomalous nature of SCP-1159 becomes apparent when any person attempts to create any kind of written descriptions of the object. Any such attempts completely and utterly fail. It's worth noting that referencing SCP-1159 itself does not produce the effect, nor do descriptions kept in a purely auditory state, which is the reason for the unorthodox medium of this particular file. People who listen to SCP-1159 for some time often describe its music as entrancing and beautiful and such, but it is unclear whether or not this is an anomalous effect or whether the sounds produced by the object are simply high-quality harmonics. Addendum 1. SCP-1159 was first discovered in an auction house in New York. An elderly male subject mentioned to a Foundation agent posing as a customer while on standard containment patrol that he had a beautiful harp in the back of his shop. The agent asked for the price of the harp, and the subject was not able to produce one, stating that he had not had an opportunity to write it down. He did note that that was an unusual occurrence, but he said that it was certainly just an oversight on his part. After determining the anomalous nature of the object, the agent initiated a containment protocol, and SCP-1159 was recovered. Ending recording. Addendum 1159 TAC A. Attempts to write down descriptions of SCP-1159 have not been met with success. In this first test, subjects were given various mediums with which to capture a description of 1159, including pens, pencils, cameras, typewriters, and computers. Upon initiation of the test, no subjects were able to complete the task. Pencils broke, mostly tips. One pencil was found to have no lead in it. Pens began leaking all over the paper. 2 of the pens had their tips rupture. The cameras were also unsuccessful. The digital camera suffered corrupted files, and one suffered a short circuit. The analog cameras found that all of their film had been overexposed. The computers all suffered fatal malfunctions, and the typewriter suffered a mechanical malfunction, including a broken gear and several broken keys. Addendum 1159 TAC B. Subject was given a lead pencil created by Foundation engineers with the purpose of making a pencil able to write under extreme conditions. Pencil was created with lead alloy tip to prevent breaking and was wrapped in a titanium shell. Upon initiation of the test, subject suffered a fatal heart attack. Further testing has been suspended until further notice. End recording. This is Dr. Buchanan, audio log of interview with Dr. Androvsky. Dr. Androvsky is a Foundation researcher stationed at site and will give his opinion on SCP-1159. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Androvsky.
My pleasure.
You've had some time to study SCP-1159 and its anomalous effects. Have you formed any opinions as to the nature of the harp?
I have. I believe that the reason the object behaved the way that it does is a form of self-preservation.
How so?
Think of it this way. Aeolian wind harps do not need humans to play them. The only interaction the human has with the harp is by listening to the music. If you take away that audience, the harp has nothing. You can describe a harp with words, certainly, but the anomalous effect of the harp forces anyone who wishes to learn about the harp to learn about it auditorily. Even if the person never hears the sound of the harp itself, the simple fact that information must disperse to sound is a music on its own. The music of information.
Thank you once again, Dr. Androvsky.
My pleasure, again.
Wait, why are oranges called oranges, but apples not called red? I can't take it anymore. Eating a burger with no honey mustard. 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 Eating a burger with no honey. How are you still watching me?
Why are oranges called oranges? But an apple is not called red. Oh my goodness. I can't take it anymore. Eating a burger with no honey mustard. 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 Eating a burger with no honey. How are you still watching me? I'm out of here.
Item number, SCP-807. Object class, Euclid. Special containment procedures. SCP-807 is to be kept in a locked safe deposit box at Site-19's high-value item storage facility. Standard positive action defenses explosive, chemical, biological, and mimetic are to be in place at all times. According to standard operating procedure, SCP-807 may be removed from its storage container with proper authorization for experimentation. All personnel working around SCP-807 must be well fed and should wear oral restraints to prevent accidental ingestion. Description. SCP-807 is a salmon-colored ceramic dinner plate 20 centimeters in diameter with the words Last Chance Diner printed on the edges in white. A small piece has been chipped out of one edge of a plate. Just above the letter D there are no manufacturer's marks, and to date, all efforts to find the restaurant in question have failed. SCP-807 transmutes any food served upon it into a variation of its original form with high concentrations of fat, sodium, and cholesterol. Once transmuted, the food in question is enhanced in flavor and aroma to preternatural levels, to the point where the desire to consume said food becomes nearly irresistible. Anyone who does consume said food, however, will undergo cardiac arrest within 5 minutes of finishing their meal, due to sudden and massive fatty buildup in the major arteries. In some cases, immediate bypass surgery has been shown to be effective in saving the life of the subject. Addendum 807-A recorded transmutations. Cucumber sandwich made with fresh cucumbers, white bread, and 2 cc butter. Fried egg sandwich. Vegetarian patty with fresh lettuce, tomato, and onion, with 4 cc ketchup, 4 cc mustard, and 2 slices dill pickle on a whole wheat bun. Luther burger served onto crispy cream donuts with 3 beef patties consisting of a total of 0.5 kilograms of beef, served with lettuce, tomato, onion, 8 cc ketchup, 8 cc mayonnaise, 8 cc mustard, with a fried dill pickle on the side. Luther burger data expunged. Further testing of high-fat foods with SCP-807 has been suspended due to the high number of casualties. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next. For example, find the 2000 through 2999 SCP you like me to cover.
This is the Clout Neo. It's the first ever fully circular running shoe.
What would you create with $100,000? Join the Artlist 100K Fund and make your creative dream a reality.
Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. Storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah. No, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. See the horizon, turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number. Fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. We'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. Storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah. No, I don't wanna waste what's left. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. See the horizon, turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number. Fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. We'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. Storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah. No, I don't wanna waste what's left. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. Storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah. No, I don't wanna waste what's left. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. through the sun rays, and on we'll go. Through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. If you grow in number, if you come to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, if you come to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. We'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, through the shadow, through the sun rays, and we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely outside. I don't wanna waste what's left. Storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah. No, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, through my shadow, through the sun rays. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways. And on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, through my shadow, through the sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways. And we'll go. If you grow in number, if you come to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, if you come to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. We'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, through the shadow, through the sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways. And we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. Storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah. No, I don't wanna waste what's left. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, through my shadow, through the sun rays. And we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways. And we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat.
Item number, SCP-1999. Object class, Euclid. Special containment procedures. Mobile Task Force IOTA 9. Collected Curios is to work with museums in designated areas of effect, identifying cases of vandalism concerning the name. Loeys. The MTF will also secure all items affected by SCP-1999. The Foundation will work to restore items with high monetary or cultural value. All instances of the word Loeys written in anything other than ballpoint pen or felt tip marker ink are not to be considered SCP-1999. Pertinent graffiti is to be investigated for links to Dadaist Collective. Are we cool yet? See Addendum 1999-D. See Addenda. Description. SCP-1999 is a phenomenon whereby the name Loeys, sometimes stylized Loeys in all caps or less frequently. Loeys inscribes itself on the surface of objects through unknown means. The name appears to be written in either ballpoint pen or felt tip marker, and the handwriting is consistent throughout all instances. See Addendum 1999-B. Objects so far discovered with SCP-1999 written on them have had no similarities to one another other than having been located inside museums, a feature which has been instrumental in identifying fabricated instances. This has included exhibited artifacts, non-exhibit museum items and objects owned by employees and visitors. See Addenda. An object marked with the name produces an effect whereby subjects consider it the property of another person, even if it was originally theirs. In such cases, subjects possessing of the item is considered temporary, as though it were borrowed. Reactions to affected objects will be typical of persons wishing to protect another's property. Subjects can be coerced into misusing or even damaging objects, but will often display extreme distress when asked to do so. Museum staff have on numerous occasions removed items from exhibits without prompting, later stating the object in question is Elfies. Seeing the name or knowing about its existence on the object is unnecessary for the effect to take place. Analysis of affected objects suggests a frequency of occurrence between 1 and 3 months. Addendum 1999-A. Contact with museums in Germany has identified the name Loeys occurring on objects prior to the 1940s, especially in the city of Stuttgart. These are also considered to be instances of SCP-1999. Addendum 1999B. Handwriting analysis has confirmed a match with a Mrs. Eltha S. Louise, N. of Manhattan, New York City. Interviews with Mrs. Louise' family reveal that she settled in Manhattan shortly after coming to the United States from Germany in 1941, and that, barring vacations, she did not leave the area for the remainder of her life. The date of her emigration coincides with the shift in spelling of SCP-1999 instances and the shift and location of instances from Stuttgart to Manhattan. The interviews also reveal nothing anomalous about Mrs. Louise herself. No direct mechanism connecting Mrs. Louise to SCP-1999 has been found. As the museum, where Mrs. Louise worked as a clerk for 30 years, was not affected by SCP-1999 prior to 2009, it is theorized that Mrs. Louise, despite being the focus of the phenomenon, had a small range about her person in which SCP-1999 did not occur. Since her death of 2009, instances of SCP-1999 have begun occurring less frequently, no more often than once every 5 months, but with increased range. SCP-1999 has now occurred in the Mid-Atlantic, southern and southwestern United States, coinciding with places Mrs. Louise visited in life. No new instances have appeared in Germany. While the designation of any place as a museum opens it to SCP-1999, no museums dedicated after 2009 have been affected. Monitoring is ongoing. Frequency of occurrence appears to have no correlation to the location of Mrs. Louise's body. Exhumation of the body revealed no anomalous properties. Addendum 1999C. The investigation is ongoing, but at this time there are no reports of Mrs. Louise's maiden name appearing on any objects. The oldest object to date found affected by SCP-1999 was removed from the Stuttgart in 1938 after it had been discovered vandalized. The year coincides with Mrs. Louise's marriage. Addendum 1999D. The link between SCP-1999 and Are We Cool Yet was discovered during the containment of an art installation, now SCP, in 2000, where the word Louise was found spray-painted in 3 places inside and outside. Instances of the word, mostly written in spray paint, have continued to appear since, alarmingly near sites being investigated by the Foundation for Containment as SCPs. The investigation into possible information leaks has been labeled top priority by O5 Council. Mrs. Louise and her family are at this time considered to have no connection to Are We Cool Yet? If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next. Item number, SCP-299. Object class, Keter. Special containment procedures. A 200-meter wide forest of SCP-299 is to be contained in an underground biodome. Area 299, in the redacted desert. All other specimens encountered are to be incinerated. No plant life is to come into contact with SCP-299 outside of controlled testing. Areas infested by SCP-299 should be considered Class 8 hazard zones, firebombed immediately, and monitored for 4 weeks. Any further infestation is to be incinerated, as well as all wildlife present on the site. Description. SCP-299 is an arboriform organism characterized by black, sharp-pointed branches. Closer inspection reveals that each instance of SCP-299 is connected to neighboring trees by its roots. Prolonged contact converts these neighboring trees into another instance of SCP-299. This is SCP-299's only known method of reproduction. Addendum 299-1.
The King's Hawaiian Pork and Slaw Sandwich is back for a limited time at Firehouse Subs. Enjoy it with our new Tropical Cherry Limeade, only at Firehouse Subs. Tap the banner now to start your order. Beverage is artificially flavored for participating U.S. locations.
SCP-299 infection will result from prolonged contact with any material from SCP-299. Conversion time varies by the size of the infectee. Generally, after a few minutes of exposure, the infected plant begins to shed its leaves. Low branches shift downward to a height of 30 to 100 centimeters and taper to a point. High branches retain leaves and shift toward the top of the tree, forming a dense canopy and making overhead identification impossible. Addendum 299-2. Microscopic analysis of low branches reveals that these points are composed of the same material as the rest of infected plant, and are remarkably sharp. Direct contact with the point of a branch from SCP-299 is unadvised, as even a sliver of SCP-299 material embedded in skin is known to produce disastrous results. See experiment log 299-1. Vine-like tendrils grow upward from the roots of SCP-299, reaching heights of up to 2 meters. These tendrils are prehensile and elastic. Organic objects enter in close proximity are violently seized, impaled upon the lower branches, and incorporated into the organism via gradual conversion on the molecular level. Specimens of SCP-299 release chemicals known to spread throughout the immediate area and cause heightened paranoia and aggression in most animals, including humans. Under the influence of these chemicals, groups of people tend to split up and wander the forest alone, making them more likely to pass through an infested area. Addendum 299-3. Examination of material harvested from SCP-299 reveals that the wood is brittle and similar in composition to data expunged. A single cell of SCP-299 will retain its infectious nature and is capable of reconfiguring an entire organism upon introduction. Experiment log 299-1. Item. Maple seedling Acer saccharum X1. Researcher. DR. Test record. A sample of matter from SCP-299 is introduced to seedling. Over 45 minutes, the seedling is completely converted into a specimen of SCP-299, retaining its height and approximate size. Seedling incinerated. Item. Oak tree. Quercus alba X1. Researcher. DR. Test record. Oak tree transplanted into containment area of SCP-299. Over 3 hours, the tree is completely converted into a specimen of SCP-299, retaining its height and approximate size. Matter taken from new specimen is consistent with matter from neighboring specimens. Item. Sunflower. Helianthus annuus X1. Researcher. Dr. Test record. A sample of matter from SCP-299 is introduced to sunflower. Over 10 minutes, the plant is completely converted into a specimen of SCP-299, retaining its height and size. The flower petals have blackened and tapered into spikes, consistent with SCP-299 spike branches. Tendrils are frail and incapable of grasping large objects. Specimens transnapped upon introduction of researcher's foot. Remains incinerated. Item. European grapevine. Vitis vinifera confined to potted growing upward along a trellis. X.
If it's Hillshire Farm, oh, hell yeah.
Researcher. Dr. Test record. Sample of matter from SCP-299 introduced to grapevine. Subject converted within 30 minutes. Subject attached from trellis and adopted prehensile nature of SCP-299 tendrils. Spike protrudes from rooted area. Item. Results of previous experiment. Pig. Sus domestica X1. Researcher. Dr. Test record. Pig introduced to testing area. Subject showed signs of agitation. Upon investigation of SCP-299, subject was violently seized and constricted, eventually suffocating before impalement upon a spike. Specimen was left in containment and observed for 3 days. Over that time, the mass of pig and tendril tissues were integrated into the main vine. Spikes grew from its base, the roots extended and tendrils grew from them, and branches grew from the top of the tree. sprouting buds and leaves. Specimen was incinerated. Notes. SCP-299 appears to not be limited to trees. Infected plants seem to react slightly differently, depending on their unique biology. All specimens, however, eventually become SCP-299 trees if given time to grow and change form. Item. Venus flytrap. Dialnia muscipula X1. Researcher. Dr. Test record data expunged. Addendum 299-4. 05 command has requested that researchers refrain from experimentation with carnivorous plants. Item. Pig. Sus domestica X1. Researcher. Dr. Test record. Matter from SCP-299 injected into pig. Pig began squealing and moving uncontrollably until it fell to the ground and convulsed. Upon expiration, fine root-like hairs were observed to grow from the underside of the pig. The flesh of the pig underwent a transformation into SCP-299 material starting from point of injection. After 2 hours, the pig was observed to have become another instance of SCP-299, complete with tendrils and leaves. Subject incinerated. Addendum 299-5. As of 2000, the trees in Area 299 have begun deviating from the standard form of SCP-299, with several growing what appears to be white flowers up to 2 meters from ground level. Following standard protocol, D-Class personnel were sent in to determine if the new mutation was dangerous. Upon approaching the flowers, the petals unfurled into highly mobile tendrils which immediately ensnared the head of one of the D-Class before pulling him back to the tree. All personnel were immediately removed from the area and placed in a 48-hour quarantine. Subject was observed emerging from the tree line approximately 5 hours after being ensnared, apparently unharmed. Subject was then put in a separate 48-hour quarantine in accordance to protocol. Subject protested vocally against the quarantine, stating that he had to see the Sunday 10 hours into the quarantine. Subject spontaneously lost consciousness and several branches of SCP-299 began growing from subject's head and torso. Subject was terminated and then incinerated along with the growth. Changes to the containment protocol to respond to this development are under review. If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next. Item number, SCP-1000. Object class, Keter. Special containment procedures. All media reports related to SCP-1000 are to be examined for potential verifiability. All organizations and individuals investigating SCP-1000's existence are to be kept under surveillance by Mobile Task Force Zeta-1000 and discredited or administered amnestics. All physical signs of SCP-1000's existence must be retrieved and kept in Foundation custody, and replaced with decoy items if necessary. Alleged sightings of SCP-1000 must always be investigated by MTS Zeta-1000. However, to reveal the claim, absolutely no contact with wild or captive instances of SCP-1000 is allowed without prior approval by Director Jones. Any interaction between SCP-1000 and humans, including Foundation personnel, must be reported to Director Jones immediately. Description. SCP-1000 is a nocturnal, omnivorous ape, classified in the Hominini branch along with genera Pan and Homo. Adults range in size from 1.5 to 3 meters, 5 to 10 feet, in height, and weigh between 90 and 270 kilograms, 200 to 600 pounds. They have grey, brown, black, red, and occasionally white fur. They possess large eyes with good vision, a pronounced brow ridge, and a sagittal crest on the forehead similar to that of the gorilla, but present in both sexes. Their intelligence is on par with that of Pantroglodytes, the common chimpanzee. SCP-1000 evolved alongside Homo sapiens, existing contemporaneously with proto-humans and humans in large numbers until 10,000 to 15,000 years ago, when an extinction event eliminated all but 1 to 5% of their population. This event was triggered by SCP-1000 contracting an anomalous pseudo-disease classified as SCP-1000-F1. This disease is passed on at the genetic level and affects every present-day instance of SCP-1000. The majority of SCP-1000 instances are born immune to the effect. Those who are not born immune quickly die. The effect of SCP-1000-F1 is as follows. Any hominid including humans, chimpanzees, bonobos, and non-immune instances of SCP-1000 that directly or indirectly observes any instance of SCP-1000 has a minimum 2% chance of being instantly killed through anomalous means via permanent cessation of brain function. This percentage is cumulative, and the longer a human views SCP-1000, the higher the chance of instantaneous death increases, at a rate of plus 1% chance per 20 minutes of viewing. This effect varies between individual members of SCP-1000 species, with some individuals carrying a death chance of 90%. The effect is also produced by dead individuals, though small fur samples do not exhibit the effect. Known means of preventing this effect are small scale only and include redacted see attached documentation. Level 3 clearance required. Because of SCP-1000's close relation to humanity, it is considered likely that SCP-1000-F1 could eventually transfer to human carriers. Any instance of SCP-1000 finding its way to a major population center could constitute a class end of the world scenario with a minimum death toll of redacted and possible extinction of humanity. Fortunately, SCP-1000 appears to instinctively avoid human contact. It is not currently feasible to exterminate SCP-1000 entirely. The highest known population concentrations of SCP-1000 are at present located in the Pacific Northwest region of North America and the Himalayan mountain range in Asia. As of, these populations remain extant. SCP-1000's presence and data expunged have also been documented within the past 5 years on every continent. All known significant populations of SCP-1000 located near human population centers have been eliminated. SCP-1000 came to the attention of the Foundation via contact by Dr. Fran in 14 with the Children of the Sun, who identified themselves as outcast members of the Serpent's Hand. This group has since been completely destroyed by the Foundation, due to their reluctance to surrender information about SCP-1000, SCP, and SCP, since reclassified as SCP-1000 and SCP-1000. Remaining members have either joined the Foundation, or have gone into hiding, presumably as members of the Serpent's Hand. Weapons, tools, and other unique pseudo-technological resources in possession of the organization have been classified as SCP-1000-001 through SCP-1000. These resources have been made use of by the Foundation in multiple instances. For a full list, see document 1000-3534-Y. Level 3 clearance required. Access to surviving ex-members of the Children of the Sun is restricted to personnel with clearance level 4-1000 unless given direct authorization for contact by Director Jones. Further information is available to personnel with clearance level 3-1000 or above. Personnel with clearance level 3-1000 or above are required to read document Alpha 1596-1000. Addendum 1466-X. Update to Special Containment Procedures. As of SCP-1000 Special Containment Procedures no longer include Procedure 516 Lumina. Data expunged indicates that SCP-1000 may be developing a resistance to the sonic element. Data expunged will not develop further, so that Procedure 516 Lumina can still be used in emergency situations. Investigation into alternate means of reliably keeping SCP-1000 away from human population centers is underway. Whether SCP-1000 resistance to Procedure 516 Lumina was calculated, and as such may be a sign of SCP-1000 redacted, or coincidental, by chance of natural species variation, is not known at this time.
Level 3 clearance required. Document Alpha 1596-1000. Missive from Director Jones. You've probably heard the rumors before now. Everyone without the clearance level to know better wants to get their dig in. Did you hear Sasquatch is an SCP? Are we going to capture and contain Bad Boy next? Yes. SCP-1000 is Bigfoot. I'm sure you've snickered. Don't worry. Contrary to rumors, we don't actually assign you to cater duty for finding something humorous. You think Bigfoot is funny because we want you to think Bigfoot is funny. We've bankrolled Hollywood comedies and farcical documentaries, paid off men in gorilla suits, perpetrated hoaxes with bear prints and goat fur, bribed and brainwashed cartoonists to get especially silly depictions on children's television. Even the term Bigfoot comes from us, planted in the media in 1958, a term people would find even harder to take seriously than Sasquatch. Why? We'll get to that. The information in the article that you've already read isn't entirely true. There are 2 direct lies, and plenty of lies of omission. There is no such thing as the anomalous pseudo-disease referred to as SCP-1000-F1. SCP-1000 does not possess a magical death aura. In fact, SCP-1000 does not directly exhibit any anomalous effect whatsoever. We also lied about SCP-1000's intelligence level. SCP-1000 are chimp level smart. They're smarter to be precise. They are exactly as smart as us. That brings us to the lies of omission. That's what this letter is for. The lies came from me, so I figure the truth should come from me as well. This is the story we got from the Children of the Sun who defected to us. It's a story we didn't believe. Refused to believe, at first. As you already read, the apes we call SCP-1000 evolved alongside us. We walked in the daytime, they walked in the nighttime, our nocturnal siblings in the shadows. But while we were still wandering hunter-gatherers, they changed. Like we would, a few thousand years later. Tools, weapons, agriculture, domesticated animals, stable settlements. As humanity blinked in the Pleistocene sun, SCP-1000's population exploded across the night. They blanketed the planet in the tens of billions. They made things that we still can't comprehend, even though we've thoroughly studied the surviving pieces. Organic technology. They made trees and birds of prey grow into fast-moving ships, herds of animals that became trains, bushes that became flying vehicles. From insects and pigeons they made things equivalent to cell phones, televisions, computers, atomic bombs. The children describe vast shining cities, stretching across glaciers and penetrating the deepest caverns, grown ships of ivory and spider silk, creatures tending them with hundreds of blinking eyes. We were rare, like gorillas now, a few 100,000 left at best. We avoided their settlements just like wild animals today avoid ours. SCP-1000 understood we were intelligent like them, but avoided us just as we avoided them, saw us as fairies, as gnomes, ascribed us supernatural powers, said we ate bad children while they slept in daylight. They fenced off our dwindling wild populations in conservatories, outlawed poaching but in the underground consumed our bones as aphrodisiacs. Then their civilization fell. And we did it. By we I don't mean the Foundation. By we, I mean humanity. The story is muddy. Supposedly a trickster forced God showed humanity favor, showed us the master's tools and how to use them. Why we did it, we don't know. Perhaps they hunted us, perhaps we were simply afraid. Perhaps it was just that they fenced us in, unintentionally or not. We simply don't know what the truth is. Somehow we acquired SCP-1000's own technology, and with it, we instigated an SK-class dominance shift in which humanity became the dominant species of Earth. We wiped out 70% of SCP-1000's population in a single day. The Day of Flowers, the children called it. Supposedly every flower bloomed that day, while our enemies died in their sleep. Then we hunted the rest down. But we went further than just killing them. With a few of the more twisted of SCP-1000's devices, we drove the survivors mad, even those hiding beyond our reach. We trapped them in their own minds, blocking higher functions and leaving their bodies to fend for themselves like any ordinary ape. We slaughtered their living machines and burned their vast shining cities with SCP-1000's bioweapons that reduced everything to slurry and dust that washed or blew away in spring rain and wind. We left no traces. Not even our own memory. We turned one of the weapons on ourselves, wiped out any knowledge of SCP-1000 and the greatest civilization the planet had ever seen. Only a few humans protected themselves from the effect, kept the forbidden knowledge, just in case. The rest of us went back to being hunter-gatherers, none the wiser, which brings us to today. You're going to read all about this in the Level 3 documentation, but I'll give you the short version here. SCP-1000 are somehow regaining their forgotten intelligence and knowledge. Maybe they never truly lost it. We don't know. This is why the ever-increasing number of Bigfoot sightings is so worrying. Why the attempts at contact, however indecipherable, are even more worrying. Yes. SCP-1000 are just like us. That's what makes them so dangerous. We wiped them from history and memory. We dissolved their civilization and we slaughtered most of their species. Just ask yourselves. If they got the chance, what more would they do to us?
Addendum 1000-0560. Instances of SCP-1000 have tried to make contact with Foundation personnel on multiple occasions. Most of these attempts at contact have data expunged untranslated, though recent attempts show that some instances of SCP-1000 are capable of communicating in English. Display Ancillary Anomaly Reports. Addendum 1104-Y. Certain acquired documents contain extensive references to SCP-1000. Relevant is that the documents appear to be composed by entities associated directly with the location known as the Wanderer's Library. Context or significance of document details not yet clarified. Addendum 1276-A. Numerous anomalous objects with a known connection to SCP-1000 data expunged prior cyclical iterations. As one example, SCP-2273 may not have a point of origin in a parallel timeline, but instead a prior iteration. SCP-2932, SCP-2511, and other sources of living cultural insight into SCP-1000, or a variation, all present consistent inconsistencies which may be used to create a fuller picture of the nature of these iterations, though conclusions are uncertain. Addendum 1276-Q. Special Report Data Expunged. This unnumbered black box anomalous item anchored underneath the structure is likely the most significant anomalous object known to have been utilized. Central to understanding SCP-1000's anomalous capabilities, including capabilities not developed directly, but accessed from prior data expunged modern-day relevance to the Foundation and to society at large in a scenario of general containment failure. Close Ancillary Anomaly Reports. Log 1000-065-X1. The following is a rough translation of recent SCP-1000 attempt at communication with Foundation personnel on. See attached documentation.
We forgive you. Given choice for now, not forever. Let us back in.
If you want to see another SCP, comment down below what SCP should I cover next.
Warning. HMCL and O5 approval required. The file you are attempting to access is available to personnel with Level 4 2000 clearance only. This clearance is not included in General Level 4 security protocol. Attempting access beyond this point without necessary clearance is grounds for termination of Foundation employment and cancellation of all educational, medical, retirement, and mortality benefits. By submitting your credentials, you hereby consent to exposure to a known cognitive hazardous image and verify that you have been inoculated against that image. In the event of unauthorized access, this console will become inoperable. Security personnel will be dispatched to revive you and escort you to a detention cell for interrogation. Attempting to access this file from any computer not connected to the Foundation internet will result in immediate termination regardless of clearance. Submit login credentials. Level 4 2000 clearance required.
Consciousness confirmed. Retrieving file.
Item number, SCP-2000. Object class, Thormeal. Special containment procedures. The entrance to SCP-2000 is disguised as a disused park ranger station in Yellowstone National Park. Despite several civilian trespassing attempts, the entrance has yet to be breached in the installation's recorded history, and no further physical containment has been deemed necessary. Protocol Plane Site 201 is in effect for SCP-2000. Necessary supplies and replacement personnel may be delivered via unmarked road vehicles or civilian helicopter as appropriate. No personnel below Level 4, 2000 clearance are permitted access to documentation regarding SCP-2000, or any protocols associated with its containment and upkeep. No personnel below Level 5, 2000 clearance are permitted access to SCP-2000 below Sub-Level 3. All personnel assigned to SCP-2000 must submit to a neural archetype scan on a monthly basis. Personnel stationed on site must submit to weekly scans, to be stored locally. Level 4, 2000 personnel or above stationed on site are not permitted to leave Yellowstone National Park during the course of their assignment. In the event of transfer, either elective or compulsory, Class A amnestics must be administered, and false memories implanted consistent with assignment to other high security or key to Class SCP objects. Additional personnel may be assigned to SCP-2000 and granted temporary Level 4, 2000 clearance at the discretion of the item's HMCL supervisor, currently Dr. Charles Deers and O5 Command. The exterior surface of SCP-2000 is surrounded by Scranton reality anchors, SRAs every 20 meters, arranged hexagonally, to prevent incursion by hostile anomalous interference. Each SRA's function must be checked semi-annually and replaced as necessary. Technicians servicing SRA components may reference document SRA 033, Rev 1, 0, 7, 5 Xianc. Anastasicus constant temporal sync Zacks capable of maintaining stable tachyon flux across the expanse of the facility. Maximum output rating at 100 W each have been installed and are to be maintained monthly. Technicians servicing Zacks components may refer to document Zacks 864, Rev 1, 3, 0, 1 pseudo-Riemannian manifold has been initiated at the entrance to sub-level 4, and must remain open at all times. In the event of a manifold's failure, procedure DED Euclid 101 is to be executed immediately. Other non-anomalous life support and utility systems may be maintained in accordance with standard Foundation maintenance protocol. Section 101.5. Mission critical components. Wherever possible, non-anomalous materials and resources are to be used for SCP-2000's maintenance and repair. In the event of any K-class scenario which does not compromise the existence or function of SCP-2000, Procedure SIRE 009 is to be enacted as soon as possible. Remaining Foundation installations globally are to monitor the scenario as it unfolds, preserving what material resources are possible under the Ganymede Protocol until such time as all remaining sites respond all clear to SCP-2000 queries as defined in Document 2000-XKAC 1.9. Upon receipt of all clear code, Procedure 001 is to be implemented. Administrator note.
I want this on permanent record, and I don't rightly care if you think it's an insult to your intelligence. Some things are just this important. This device is absolutely not an excuse to let down our guard or take greater risks with SCP objects or cross-test them or whatever you might have in mind. Primary containment is still our best chance at survival. Otherwise there would be no reason to make the cover-up so extensive. We can only suspend God's disbelief so many times before the universe just says no, and considering what we've had to deal with in these past few decades, we may have passed that point already.
Former Administrator Dr. William Fritz. Description. SCP-2000 is a subterranean Foundation installation originally constructed sometime in the last years for the purpose of reconstructing civilization in the event that a K-class end-of-the-world scenario could not be averted in time to prevent humanity's extinction or near extinction. Since its inception, SCP-2000 has been activated at least twice. Foundation records regarding SCP-2000's construction and history prior to this assumed first use have been lost. Whether this information blackout is a result of accident or design is impossible to determine. The mission-critical portion of this installation begins 75 meter below ground level and extends to 100 meter depth. Although the scope of engineering required to recreate SCP-2000 in its entirety is impossible to execute while maintaining secrecy, all subsystems of SCP-2000 have been successfully reproduced in laboratory setting. The installation and all procedures involved in its upkeep are mundane in nature. See Document 2000 SSX for information regarding esoteric Foundation technologies necessary for SCP-2000's function. Primary power for the facility is liquid fluoride thorium reactor LFDR rated for 1 GW total output, with a reactor life of 70 years at maximum capacity. A geothermal generator has also been installed to take advantage of the region's volcanic activity. This generator is capable of powering the facility in standby mode indefinitely. SCP-2000 also contains water treatment facilities, air purification and recycling systems, hydroponic production wings, and housing necessary to permanently sustain up to 10,000 personnel. To fulfill its primary mission, SCP-2000 includes 500,000 Bright Zoshan hominid replicators BZHR. At peak capacity, SCP-2000 is capable of producing 100,000 viable, non-anomalous humans per day with a warm-up period of 5 days, utilizing an underground Riemannian transit pipe to collect raw material from various hot springs and underground magma flows in the area, and a computer memory bank housing data on all known human alleles. This system is capable of recreating any lost human genome or generating as many new and unique genomes as necessary to repopulate human civilization. Researcher note.
Use of the BZHR system is currently suspended outside of maintenance testing and emergency situations. SIA 009 is still go. Possible hostile incursion is still being investigated, and this database is proving particularly difficult to debug. We're still seeing a distribution of congenital and genetic defects far above baseline numbers. Right now, I can only guarantee about 60 to 75% viability in new specimens. See Addendum 2000-1.
Dr. Christopher Zarshan, MD, Biotech Research and Development. Humans produced by this process can be advanced to any age desired without extending the 5-day incubation period. In addition to construction features, the BZHR also has the ability to implant memories by administration of Class G hallucinogenics and developmental hypnotherapy, life histories, neural archetype scans, and genomes of many Foundation personnel including all personnel of Level 4, 2000 clearance and above are maintained to ensure that SCP-2000 may be activated and Procedure 001 can be initiated by as few as one surviving human. After the implementation of the Ganymede Protocol indicating a failure of the Foundation to prevent a K-class scenario, SCP-2000 security systems will unlock, allowing any Foundation employee to initiate Procedure SIRE 009. If, after 20 years, SCP-2000 remains inactive, security will be relaxed further, allowing any non-anomalous human being to access the facility and initiate the procedure. Once activated, SCP-2000's internal monitoring systems will attempt to locate all personnel of Level 4, 2000 clearance and assess their condition. Mission-critical personnel not found will be replicated using the most recent neural archetype scan on file, and awakened prior to the initialization of any other systems. After these personnel are revived, security logs will resume normal function. For a complete list of contingency options available, Level 5, 2000 personnel may access Document 2000 SIRE 09. Note that receipt of the all-clear code as defined by Document 2000-XKAC 1.9 may be waived only if all other Foundation facilities have been rendered inoperative. Otherwise, security and MTF elements revived under Procedure SIRE 009 will be dispatched to all remaining Foundation facilities to confirm their function and the integrity of local reality. Procedure 001 will begin when an authorized Level 5, 2000 Foundation employee inputs the desired resume date into SCP-2000's BZHR SAR Control Unit. Available units will then begin production of prominent political and cultural leaders of the time period using descriptions, genetic information on file, as well as replication of a global populace consistent with the chosen time period. Most of SCP-2000's floor space is dedicated to storage of building materials, construction equipment, factory machinery, agricultural equipment, and computer database storage. In addition to infrastructure concerns, a wide cultural base with copies of thousands of famous works of art, music, literature, and a full backup of the World Wide Web are kept on site in the event that other repositories are destroyed. HMCL note. Discovered this note in previous iteration records Atlas 001 conclusion. Researcher note.
If we ever have to do this again, do not set the resume date further back than 20 years before the event. Not only can we piggyback on a lot of undestroyed structures if we do, but it will make continuity a lot easier to resume. Redacted years is too many. We're straining personnel such as it is without having to rebuild to chronological specifications just to save time on the population and agricultural demands. Besides, how much of the 20th to centuries do we really want to rewrite, and how many times? Isn't one great war hard enough to keep track of?
Dr. Henrietta Eisenhower, historian.
My tenure as SCP-2000's HMCL will honor this request. Currently pursuing official documentation update to account for this change. 2 world wars is plenty. We do not need to hazard a third.
Dr. Charles Gears, HMCL supervisor. The first replacement humans housed off-site must necessarily be informed of SCP-2000's existence and function as they are being created. This strategy allows newly constructed humans to assist in reconstruction and recolonization efforts directly, and skill sets appropriate to reconstruction have been pre-selected for increased prevalence in the first 5 million individuals produced. As global population increases, the process of diaspora and reconstruction will accelerate geometrically, allowing economic and agricultural infrastructure to recover as quickly as possible. While it is feasible that some replacement humans will not survive the initial renovation period, such individuals can be recreated indefinitely until all major population centers and Foundation facilities have been completed. Foundation administrative assets during this period will focus on the falsification of dendrochronological, astronomical, and radiometric dating records necessary to maintain the appearance of historical continuity. Please see document 2000 Retcon V2, 3 for details. In the event that significant portions of natural habitat are also destroyed prior to the project's completion, refer to document 2001 TEV 3.0 for approved rapid regrowth methods. It is estimated that the world population, manufacturing capability, agricultural production, and culture can be reset to 2000 CE levels 25 to 50 years after the procedure is implemented. At the conclusion of procedure Lazarus 01, amnestic agent ENUI-5 will be released en masse, causing all reconstructed humans to forget their affiliation with Foundation assets. History will then resume from the chosen date. Each procedure will necessarily alter the course of human events due to the enormous complexity of human social interaction. Further research into predictive historical modeling based on observations from prior completions of the procedure Lazarus 01 is ongoing. HMCL note.
No further proposals for behavioral or cultural modification will be accepted at this time. Previous attempts to ameliorate violent and sociopathic tendencies in humanity as a whole have already been implemented and deemed successful. Experimentation using second iteration subjects indicates that further modification would undermine tenacity to such a degree that technological and social progress would be noticeably inhibited. See experiment log for further information. Dr. Charles Gears, HMCL Supervisor.
Document 2000 SSX. The following information establishes basic operational parameters of technology developed specifically for the SCP-2000 project. Although this technology may appear to be anomalous, it is based entirely on verifiable scientific principles currently in use by the Foundation to effect containment. The invention of the SRA appears to predate the first activation of SCP-2000, and is credited to Dr. Robert Scranton in 1889. The main body and much of the circuitry of the SRA are constructed of a corrosion-resistant beryllium bronze alloy. Inspired by artifacts recovered data expunged, effectively eliminating the appearance of virtual particle and d-particle pairs required for type green reality bending phenomena to manifest. Due to the expense involved in producing the beryllium bronze alloy required for the SRA's construction, Foundation-wide implementation of the device has been limited to units capable of an area of effect less than 2 cubic meters. Stop. Researcher note.
The mechanism of the SRA's function and the source of its inspiration must be kept secret from all possible reality-bending entities for reasons which I hope are obvious. Only qualified Level 6 2000 maintenance technicians have been cleared to access this documentation. If any member of SCP-2000 staff reveals to you that they are a Level 6 2000 maintenance technician, please report them to O5 Command so they can be reassigned and submitted to amnestic therapy immediately. This is not a punishment. It is a legitimate safety concern. If these devices are ever compromised, so too is our lifeboat. Dr. Lowell Henry Piedmont, Esoteric Containment.
The ZACT is a device designed to stabilize the flow of causality across a given field of effect. ZACTs use high-power electromagnetic radiation in the radio band coupled with a tachyon field emitter 2 to create a permeable event boundary, allowing organic and electrical systems to pass through unaffected while maintaining a static causal environment. In other words, temporal anomalies which might normally prevent SCP-2000 from being constructed will have no effect, so long as at least one ZACT remains in operation. There are no plans to implement Foundation-wide use of ZACT devices. Researcher note.
Temporal sinks can be useful for a lot of things. Containing SCP objects for which you need 1 second to last 300,000 years is a good example. Holding a point of reference constant during temporal repair missions, so that you can meaningfully record your progress and undo serious mistakes is another. But natural causal relationships are flexible in a way the human mind is not equipped to deal with meaningfully, and creating more than a small handful of isolated static causalities will do more to damage temporal integrity than secure it. ZACTs will not be implemented Foundation-wide. Yes, we have tried it during a past iteration. No, further inquiries into the results of that attempt will not be accepted. Dr. Thaddeus Yook, Temporal Anomalies.
The use of a pseudo-Riemannian manifold allows SCP-2000's floor plan to extend into negative depth, providing 10 kilometers of floor space. Original documentation on this system's construction prior to previous SCP-2000 activations has been lost. While this phenomenon has traditionally been indicative of spatial anomalies, it is the determination of Drs. Roslyn Axel and Tristan Bailey that the manifold entrance is consistent with an advanced implementation of modern physics. This negative space is maintained via a non-gravitational singularity generated through focused particle emission across the manifold's desired entrance. In the event of the singularity's failure, the installation will remain intact in isolation and will not suffer structural collapse. Recreation of the manifold is estimated to take less than 10 hours if protocol dead Euclid 101 is enacted immediately after failure. The isolated portion of SCP-2000 will remain operable and inhabitable for up to 36 hours after the manifold fails, and is recoverable indefinitely. Addendum 2000-1. During containment breach of SCP-2, SCP-2000 experienced failure of several SRA and ZACT components, which is SCP-3480, which coincided with activation of the BZHR units on site. For 25 days following this incident, BZHR units produced over 10 million humanoid entities with internal biology inconsistent with modern humans. Differences include an additional heart chamber, perfect polydactyl of the hands and feet, increased endocranial volume and height, and the presence of an abdominal organ of unknown purpose which emits and responds to radio frequencies in the 2.4 to 3.6 GHz range. These humanoids were neither dosed with Class G hallucinogenics during replication, nor submitted to developmental hypnotherapy, or remained unconscious until expiration 5 weeks later. Classification of SCP-2000-1 for these entities is currently under review. Whether this event is a direct result of transtemporal interaction between SCP and SCP-2000, sabotage, information leak, or non-anomalous equipment malfunction is as yet unknown. Diagnostic checks and structural repair are proceeding within acceptable risk. SCP-2000 is expected to resume normal function as of January 2020. Addendum 2000-2. While making repairs to SRA units in Sector 3382 1.2, technician data expunged reported the discovery of human remains in an advanced state of decay. Analysis of clothing fragments discovered with the remains indicates the remains are 450-700 years old. Valid Foundation security credentials for DR Alto Clef were discovered nearby, although a genetic match could not be established. The following note was recovered from a hermetically sealed plastic document sleeve.
Why did we have to build this thing? When did we do it? How long have we been doing it? Do we even know?
Subsequent interrogation has verified that Dr. Clef has no knowledge of this event, and is ignorant as to the purpose of the message. You are not normal. This is normal. Bibliography 1. Use of MSRA Scranton boxes to provide mission-critical document security. L. Piedmont et al. Foundation. Vol 106.8 pp 10-14, 1988. 2. Relativistic motion in superfluids for use in tachyon emission and storage. T. Zilank. A. Anastasicus. Foundation. Vol 10.4 pp 141-143, 1892. 3. Transit portal dynamics. Stretching the brain. T. Bailey et al. Foundation. Vol 115.2 pp 23-37, 1997. If you want to see another SCP anomaly, comment down below what SCP should I cover next.